Shalom Israel, welcome back to class. It's a Wednesday night at the water for joining us here at isbhpk, Sword of Truth, San Antonio. And we want to give a shout out to all our brothers and sisters out there in Houston, and New York, Rochester, Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. And brothers that we have in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Canada, Costa Rica. Shout out to Guatemala, Cabacam, Guatemala. Amiatazai in London. We got brothers out in California, checking us out in California, LA Judah in Atlanta. To water everybody for watching and joining us, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. I know we're running a little bit behind schedule, 7:45, but I was gonna do the last section of the Most High's Creatures, Part 4, which is the final, class for that section, but I thought it was important to take a little quick break and just jump into the mind frame. So the topic of today's class is finding biblical solutions for my mind.
Can I ask this question now? Mm-hmm. Why did you, or what inspired this class?
Well, when you look at the topic we've been dealing with, which is the Most High's creatures, we're one of those creatures. And as being the creatures of the Most High, we're spiritual creatures. You know, there's part of us that are earthly, terrestrial, which we went over for the last few classes. We're terrestrial beings, but we're also part celestial as well, because we got the Spirit of the Most High in us. And so, not only are we terrestrial, earthly creatures, but we have a spiritual portion to us. So we also have to feed that spiritual aspect of us, and that's what today's topic is about. Then we'll jump right back on the last section of that series of the Most High's creatures, celestial, terrestrial, and mythical. So there's one more part to that, but right now we're going to take a quick break. We'll hopefully get back to that next week and let that be the final fourth part of that class next week. Yes, sir.
What was the title?
Finding biblical solutions for my mind.
All right. There are lots of solutions out there.
Oh man, there's many. Plenty solutions, but you got to find the ones that are biblical. All right. So that's today's topic. And let's go ahead and start with the first scripture. We got it on the screen. Nathaniel, you got it? Matthew chapter 4, verse 23. Let's read that. 23. This one.
Nice little page right here.
Is it Matthew 4?
No, Matthew chapter 4, verse 23.
4:23?
Yes, sir.
Matthew chapter 4, verse 23.
Read that.
It says, and Yahushua went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogue.
So Christ, as he was in motion, shout out to everybody online also. Didn't want to forget about brothers and sisters online as well. The water for joining us in class. And the water, and shout out to those that are in class with us today. Be careful. All right. Read that one more time.
Matthew chapter 4, verse 23.
Read that.
And Yahushua went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues.
And so Christ, while he was teaching in the synagogues, he was going throughout all Galilee, teaching in the synagogues. Read.
And preaching the gospel.
And what was he doing?
And preaching the gospel.
So the teaching he was doing, he was preaching the gospel. That's something that we need to understand first and foremost as our objective, being followers of Christ. We got to start teaching this gospel. All right? We have to start teaching this gospel. And that's what we want to emulate is the actions of Christ. Read on.
And preaching the gospel of the kingdom.
Go ahead.
Healing all manner of sickness.
And healing what?
All manner of sickness.
So, class, what was Christ doing in Galilee?
You're preaching and healing. Healing all manner of sickness.
He was healing. He was preaching the gospel, the kingdom of heaven. And he was also healing all manner of what? Sickness.
What is manner talking about?
Manner means sort, kind, like, mode. So it's a variety of. It wasn't just one in particular. So he was dealing with all manner. So manner meaning all sorts, all kinds, all types. All manner of sickness. Read on.
And all manner of disease.
And all manner of what?
Disease.
And all manner of disease. Go ahead.
Among the people.
And among the people. So this is what Christ was doing. This is the life of Christ. Preaching the kingdom, the coming kingdom of the Most High in Christ. And also, while he was doing so, he was healing all manner of sickness and disease. So it shows you two things he was focused on. Preaching and healing. Preaching, teaching, and healing. You know, preaching the kingdom. Was this any different from what he told his disciples? Matthew chapter 10, verse 1. Next brother. Is this any different than what he told his disciples? Let's find out. Matthew chapter 10, verse 1.
Matthew chapter 10 and verse 1. And when he had called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits.
Go ahead.
To cast them out.
To do what?
To cast them out.
So Christ gave his disciples power over unclean spirits to do what?
To cast them out.
To cast them out. Read on.
And to heal all manner of sickness.
And also they were given power to do what?
To heal all manner of sickness.
Go ahead.
And all manner of disease.
Does that sound familiar? What symmetry do you see between what Christ was doing in Galilee to what his disciples were doing?
What he was doing, he was passing it on.
He was doing the same thing. He was instructing them on how to do the same exact thing that he was doing. Read verse 6.
Verse 6. But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
He said, this is your target audience. Your target audience is the lost sheep of the house of who?
Israel.
Did he say go to the whole world?
No.
So he had a target audience. Read.
Verse 7. And as ye go, preach, say, the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Go ahead.
Heal the sick.
Do what?
Heal the sick.
What else?
Cleanse the lepers.
What else?
Raise the dead.
Read.
Cast out devils.
Go ahead.
Freely ye have received, freely give.
Freely as ye received, freely what?
Freely give.
Freely as you receive, freely give. So as you have been given power to pull and extract these demons off people and to heal people's infirmities, he says, it's been given to you freely, give it to other people freely. It was given to you with just your obedience. So by doing so, freely give it to other people, right? But we're gonna find out something. Matthew 17, verse 18. Let's go to Matthew chapter 17, verse 18.
Matthew chapter 17 and verse 18 reads. You ready?
Yep.
And Yahushua rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him. And the child was cured.
Read verse 16, I'm sorry.
Verse 16.
Read verse 16.
And I brought him to thy disciples.
So this is the man that had the son that was vexed. He had the lunatic son that was vexed. And he brought his son, his sick lunatic. Lunatic means to be not sane. Basically insane. To be not sane. To not be sane in the mind. Right? So he brought his child to Christ. To his disciples. The disciples couldn't do it. They couldn't heal him. But was not the disciples given power to heal all manner of sickness?
God.
They were.
They were given that ability.
They were given that ability.
But why wasn't it working?
So there had to be an issue. There had to be something wrong with their ability. They were given the power. They were given the ability. We read that in Matthew 10, right?
Because this touches the top in the idea that Israel secretly thinks of the Bible doesn't work. Because Christ gave them the ability to handle these spirits. And he's the king of the Bible. The main focus. But the disciples could not fix this spirit. So why am I using this Bible in my life to fix my problems? These problems aren't going away. People kind of tussle with that idea.
They do. And this man in particular, who's expecting his son to be healed, is really tussling from this idea. Read on.
I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him.
That's what he's saying. I brought them to your disciples. These guys follow you. And they couldn't do what?
Heal him.
They couldn't do it.
Brought them to your school.
Brought them to your school. Brought them, they follow you. They profess you. Read on.
They could not cure him. Then Yahushua answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation.
So what was wrong with the disciples?
Faithless.
They lacked faith. They lacked faith that they could do it. So although they were given power to heal spirits and all manner of disease and sickness, the disciples still lack what? They still lack faith. He said, "Oh, faithless what?
O faithless and perverse generation.
Read.
How long shall I be with you?"
He's saying is, how long do I have to put up with this level of lack of faith? Read on.
how long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. And Yahushua rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour.
That very hour, the child was cured. Read on.
Then came the disciples to Yahushua apart, and said, Why could not we cast him out?
Go ahead.
And Yahushua said unto them, Because of your unbelief.
He said, because what?
Your unbelief.
So now privately the disciples came to Christ and said, why couldn't we do it? Why couldn't we get this spirit off of this person? He said, because of your what?
Unbelief.
Read.
For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, ye shall say unto the mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you.
What did Christ remind the disciples?
Nothing shall be impossible.
Nothing shall be impossible to you. It can be done. But what Christ is saying is, you didn't believe enough. What he's saying is, when you have a problem that you want to solve, and if it's not fixed, that means you haven't done enough.
Oh, wow.
That means you haven't done enough to fix the problem. It can be fixed. But what are you willing to do? What type of faith are you willing to exhibit and exert? What level of belief are you going to exert within yourself to show and to prove, man, I really want to fix this? If you have an issue that's long-standing, that's unresolved, that you've been battling for a long time, then why haven't you fixed it? That's what he's saying. Yes, sir.
He said, faithless and perverse. Perverse means to be contrary to. So not only, would somebody be faithless, but they would also not be totally totally with the program.
Right. Why aren't they, though? Why haven't they done enough? He's going to explain. Read on.
Howbeit this kind.
He said, howbeit this kind, this type of spirit, to pull out, to extract, to remove, to heal. Read on.
Goeth not out but by prayer and fasting.
He says you got to instill a combination of prayer and fasting.
So it's not just one approach.
No, it's not one approach. It's not one method. It's not one way. He says you have to double up and compound prayer on top of fasting. So that means one angle is not good enough to attack and solve your problems if your problems aren't going away. If you got one angle and one method, it's not working, you got to add on to that method. You have to add on to that approach.
Oh, that's crazy, bro.
So he's saying this kind cometh out, but by what?
Prayer and fasting.
He says it takes more of your seriousness, of your commitment, and your dedication. It takes more of your thoughts. It takes more sacrifice in order to do what?
Howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting.
He said this kind goeth not out but by what?
Prayer and fasting.
I want to read something real quick, this definition. Does that actually work? We're gonna read the Tabor's Encyclopedic Medical Dictionary. Does that actually work, what Christ is saying? Alright? Does that actually work? We're gonna go to I want you to read this for me real quick. We're going to go to treatment. And we're going to go to what's called, in an encyclopedic medical dictionary, we're going to go to what's called starvation treatment. Let's read that.
Treatment, starvation, 2 or top?
Just the top.
Treatment employed.
It says treatment employed. Go ahead.
In which food.
Now, this is a medical dictionary. It says treatment employed in which food, go ahead,
is withheld.
So you hold back food, go ahead.
As in cases of bacillary dysentery, following hemorrhage, etc.
So if you got dysentery, if you got hemorrhage in the bowels and the colon, bleeding, hemorrhaging is bleeding. So the gut is bad. What else?
The treatment of diabetes.
Or if you have diabetes.
It's got to be an old one, right?
Yeah, it's old.
Or
Or,
the 70s, huh?
or
73.
if you got diabetes. What do you employ if you get diabetic?
Wow.
Go ahead.
In which there are days
In which there are days. Go ahead.
of fasting.
There's days of what?
Fasting.
So did we not read that in the Bible? Did we not read in the medical dictionary?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
What are they saying?
Treatment of diabetes in which there are days of fasting followed
Followed. Go ahead.
by a restricted and carefully controlled diet.
So you fast.
Crazy, bro.
You fast to go at dysentery. You fast to go at hemorrhaging of the gut, bleeding in the gut. You fast to go at diabetes for days. And then you come back with a very strict diet.
A strict discipline.
Disciplined diet.
Wow.
So it's showing you that even in this medical field, they understand that if you are willing to withdraw yourself from something, give your body its necessary time to heal, and then restore it back with something healthy, you can fix the problem. So is this something that both the medical industry understands and what Christ is telling the disciples?
There's not a magic pill. Like everybody wants just a pop a pill approach because it makes things. It's just an easier approach.
Yeah.
But some approaches don't work like that.
Some approaches require fasting. Some approaches require prayer.
Wow.
And fasting combined.
It's both.
It's both. This is nothing. Now, what Christ is saying, he understands the spirits. So he understands what it's going to take to solve this particular problem. If you have a long-standing issue and it's not fixed, then you have to start combining a lot more dedication and sacrifice and seriousness and withdrawing yourself from pleasure to be able to fix and overcome an issue. Yes, sir.
I don't know if this sounds like a dumb question. What is it? I just want to make sure I'm not missing it. What is it about the prayer that is so powerful about it?
Well, that's not a dumb question, bro. That's not a dumb question. Go to Hebrews real quick.
Can I borrow one?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh man, yeah, this is right now. Hey, can I get a sheet of paper, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got this. We right.
Let me
I got a pen. Just need a sheet. Wow. Thank you, bro.
Give me James real quick, just on your point to answer your question. So for those that may not have heard what the brother asked, he asked, what is important about the prayer in overcoming a situation? Let's go to James chapter 5, verse 13 real quick. Read that.
James chapter 5, verse 13. It says, "Is any among you afflicted?"
It says, is anybody afflicted? Anybody afflicted with some type of affliction? Read on.
Let him pray.
Let him do what?
Pray.
Let him pray. So what's the first? What is the first thing you should do when you are afflicted?
Pray.
What's the first thing you should do when you have a sickness?
Pray.
What's the first thing you should do when you have a problem?
Pray.
Physical, mental, or psychological?
Pray.
Pray, bro. Prayer is number one. That's step one to even beginning to the healing process. Read on.
It says, "Is any merry?
Yeah.
Let him sing psalms.
Go ahead.
Is any sick among you?
It said, if any what?
Sick among you?
Read on.
Let him call for the elders of the church."
So it's a two-way street. You know, he has a job and the elders have a job. Part of his prayer comes with something else. Go to Ecclesiastes in the Apocrypha, chapter 4, verse 26.
Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 6.
26.
Slack. And verse 26. Be not ashamed to confess thy sin.
Part of your prayer is going to be doing what?
Confessing your sin.
So you see what it is?
Not being ashamed.
It's not just I'm just praying to the Lord. Yes, you are praying. But as you're praying to the Lord, because you got problems, involved in that prayer intertwined within that prayer is what?
Confess thy sin.
You're also doing what?
Confessing thy sin.
You're also confessing your sins at the same time. So that's coupled with the prayer. You're also explaining what it is that you're doing wrong. So that everything's out in the open. And also that's swallowing my pride, that humility. The Most High said he bestowed more grace upon who? The humble.
The humble.
But he resists the who?
Proud.
Proud. So as I'm praying, I'm also confessing what?
My sins.
I'm doing some soul searching. I'm digging deep within myself to find out, hey man, I need the Most High's help. I need his assistance. I got this issue. I need to come clean. That's also commingled with my my prayer. All right. So go back. Yeah, well, I finished that in one more time. Ecclesiastes 4:26. I mean, Yohanan.
God, Ecclesiastes 4:26. Be not ashamed to confess thy sin.
I'm sorry, James. You was in James.
James.
That's why I say Yahweh. My bad.
James chapter 5 verse 14.
Verse 14. Read that.
Is any sick among you?
It says, "Any sick among you?" Read.
Let him call for the elders of the church.
Let him call for who?
The elders of the church.
Read on.
And let them pray over him.
And let them do what?
And let them pray over him.
And so the elders have a job as well. So as that sick individual is also praying to the Most High and confessing, then also the elders must pray also for that individual. So what we're doing is we're petitioning the Most High and compounding the prayers on top of each other, and to ensure that the Most High hears our petitions and our requests. Read.
It says, and the prayer, it says, anointing him with oil.
Anointing him with oil. Read.
In the name of the Most High.
Read.
And the prayer of faith shall save the sick.
It says, and the prayer of faith. And it says, anointing him in the name of the Lord. That's Christ. Right? So, now I got to add this scripture since we're on this point real quick. I gotta
What's the prayer of faith?
hold on 1 second. Let me get this. I gotta add this scripture since we here already, man. Give me 1 second. St. John 14:13. Read that last part one more time, Yahweh, in verse 14. Read verse 14 one more time.
The last part. First Peter chapter.
Just read the whole thing. First. You're in James.
Got it. James chapter 5 verse 14. Is any sick among you?
Go ahead.
Let him call for the elders of the church, and let them pray over him.
Go ahead.
Anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord.
Read.
And the prayer of faith shall save the sick.
Go ahead.
And the Lord shall raise him up.
And the Lord shall what?
Raise him up.
Go ahead.
And if he hath committed sins, they shall be forgiven him.
Now, this is why it's so important that you pray in the Lord's name. You got to go to St. John chapter 14 and read verse 12 through 14.
St. John chapter 14, verse 12. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do.
It said, you believe on me, the works that I do, read.
The works that I do, shall he do also.
It said, the works that I do, if you believe, Christ said, if you believe in me enough, you'll be able to do what I do. If you believe in me enough. Read on.
And greater works than these shall he do.
And you'll do greater works. Read on.
Because I go unto my Father.
Because Christ said, I got to leave. I'm not going to be here with you the whole time. So you got to figure this out on your own.
Yeah, catch this, son.
Yeah, you got to repeat, duplicate, and emulate what I do. Read on.
And whatsoever you shall ask in my name.
He said, but whatever so you shall ask in my name. Whatsoever you shall ask in my name. Read.
That will I do.
Christ said, whatever you ask in my name, whatever you ask the Most High for in my name, he says, that what?
Will I do.
Read on.
That the Father may be glorified in the Son.
Go ahead.
If ye shall ask anything in my name.
That's why Christ said it again. If you shall ask anything in my name. Read on.
I will do it.
He said what?
I will do it.
That's why when you go to the elders gonna pray to who? They're gonna pray to the Lord. They're gonna pray to Christ. That Christ, on Christ's behalf, they're gonna pray to the Most High. On Christ's behalf, will you remove this demon or this spirit or this issue from me or from the person that's needing the sickness removed? We're doing this in the name of Christ. Everything we're doing is in the name of Christ. So we're asking the Most High, the sick individual and the elders, to remove this spirit from this person. So we're compounding the prayers and we're adding Christ to it. So now we want maximum efficacy. We want maximum impact when our prayers hit the Most High's ears. So now we got Christ on our side, we got the elders on our side, and we got my confessions and with my sickness on my side. We got all these things coming up to the Lord, hoping that it reach the Most High with sincerity. Right? Finish that, Yahweh.
Come.
Verse 16.
James chapter 5, verse 16. It says, confess your faults.
And that's why it says do what?
Confess your faults.
Go ahead.
One to another.
Read on.
And pray one for another.
So, once again, we're compounding confession with what?
Prayer.
With prayer. So, there's no dumb question. You didn't ask it. That wasn't a silly question. That was an excellent question. This is why prayer is so important. But don't just pray, confess and pray.
Both.
And bring in the elders on so they on it so they can pray. And then also they're going to pray in the name of Christ. So now you got all these individuals involved within your prayer and your sickness. To aid you in a spiritual aspect, to reach the Most High's ears, to alleviate you of any illnesses. You see how prayer is critical? It's important. Finish that.
And pray one for another, that ye may be healed.
Go ahead.
The effectual and fervent prayer.
It says the effectual, fervent prayer, read,
of a righteous man availeth much.
It accomplishes much good. So this is why when you're looking at trying to remove a spirit, when Christ said this type requires prayer and fasting. So not only does it take that, what we just read in that medical dictionary, that starvation treatment, but it also takes a coupling of your prayers to the Most High, added on to with the elders in the name of Christ, so that the Most High can hear that and receive that offering and aid you in that and give you assistance in removing that spirit. All right? Answer your question? All right. So let's go back to where we were. Let that go. And you was in James, right? Let that go in James. We're done with that. We were in Matthew chapter 17, verse 20. Who was reading that? Who was at 21?
Matthew chapter 17, verse 21. Howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting.
So what Christ is explaining is that all spirits don't just come out one way. Spirits don't leave just because you say, Satan, get behind me. Get behind thee, Satan. It don't work like that. Now, there's different ways and there's different avenues. There's different approaches to remove different spirits. And the more deep-seated, the more deep-rooted the issues are, the more I got to add on to what I'm doing to ask the Most High to take it away. The more seriousness I must become. The different approaches, the starvation side, the fasting side. With that fasting shows the Most High, along with giving alms, because we know what the scriptures say, alms deliver from death, in book of Tobit. What this does is show the Most High how serious I am. And that's what the Most High was saying, why the disciples couldn't pull that spirit off that lunatic child. He said, y'all didn't do enough. You stopped when you just try to call that spirit out. You didn't do anything extra. He said, if you would have just, go ahead, I'll let you go. He said, but if you would have just said, you could, if with a little bit of faith, he said you had the faith of a mustard seed, you could remove mountains. If you would have done a little bit more than what you actually did, you could have seen an increase. You could have seen a result. You could have got a solution. If you would have went a little further than what you did. What he's showing is when you got issues, you can't stop when you try something one time and it's not good enough. One time is not enough. You got to keep adding on and adding on and stacking on these different approaches to remove a problem or to go at a problem. There's more than one way to deal with a situation. Now, we're not telling people to starve themselves because we're no medical doctors. We're not medical professionals in that aspect. We're not telling anybody to starve themselves to death. We're not saying that. We're not doctors in that aspect. So there's a disclaimer that we're going to give that if you got an issue medically, yes, go seek a doctor. The Bible even tells you that. Go get medical treatment. There's nothing wrong with that. You need both. Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 38, start at verse 1. You need both. We're not going to isolate. You know, some people are tabooist and, oh man, you can't go to the doctor because the scriptures say their physicians are no value. Well, you know what? There's a time when this physician does have a value.
Yeah.
You know, when you do have an Ecclesiasticus and Apocrypha, chapter 38, verse 1.
Con, Ecclesiastes chapter 38 and verse 1 reads, honor a physician.
And say what?
Honor a physician.
No, so the Bible tells you to honor a who?
Physician.
We're not telling you to starve yourself to death and beat a demon by starving yourself to death. Yes, you got to see a doctor. You got to pray. You got to fast. You got to do a little bit of everything. It said honor a physician. That means you got to give credit to the physician. Read on.
Which the honor due unto him.
It said which the honor due unto him. Read on.
For the uses which ye may have of him.
Put some respect on his name because you may need him. You may need him. Read.
For the Lord have created him.
Who created the physician?
The Lord have created him.
So we telling people not to go to the doctor.
No.
Not to seek medical help. No. If you have a problem, a medical issue, go see a doctor. But just don't stop there. Go see a medical expert, but just don't stop there. You have to add on to that pursuit of getting purged or alleviated from that situation. Read on.
For of the Most High cometh healing.
Because ultimately the healing comes from who?
No, the Most High.
So we're not telling you bypass a doctor. No. Read.
For of the Most High cometh healing, and he shall receive honor of the king.
Go ahead.
The skill of the physician.
It said the what?
The skill of the physician.
Read.
Shall lift up his head.
So and what he's telling you is, don't just go to any doctor. Go to the most skillful doctor. Don't just go to anybody.
So the guy just the brand new
Yeah,
practice.
the guy that just came out of damn medical school.
Yeah.
Who hasn't seen many cases like yours. Who don't have years upon years like going to a mechanic. There's some good mechanics. There's some bad mechanics too. I remember I paid $1,200. Took it in to get a head job with the engine, the head gasket resurfaced. Paid $1,200. It was sputtering before I took it in. Then it was sputtering and smoking when I picked it up. Like I had a bigger problem than I had when I took it in.
Right.
Then he told me that was something different. We fixed your problem. That's something else.
Yeah, bro. That's crazy, bro.
Anyway, let me stop, man. He said, don't go to just any doctor, man. Don't just go to any doctor. You better look for the best. You're not just trying to scroll through and find 1-800 cheapo doctor.
Yeah,
who can fit in my price range, in my budget. Man, you better do some research. Find out who got the most skill for the issue that you need.
Well, it's a good track record.
Who got a good success record? Read the reviews. Check out see if some of these doctors are operating and they're not even board certified. They got their certification removed. They still operating.
Happens on
Happened in Florida.
Yeah.
Happened in Florida. Lady operating as a doctor. She'd been removed from a doctor. She'd been barred from her practice. Still operating as a doctor. Read. Matter of fact, we had one here in Texas that was she was posing as a doctor. She wasn't even a doctor, but she was writing prescriptions.
No way.
They finally caught her. She wasn't even a doctor. Right here in Texas, posing as one.
That's scary.
That's a nightmare. You just went because it was cheap.
There was a doctor in New York doing surgeries in his apartment. That's real scary.
First of all, you knew you was going to an apartment.
Right.
You know you wasn't going to see no doctor.
Come to my house, man.
Yeah, come to my house, man. Just knock on the door, 3 doors down on the left.
We'll hook you up. We'll get you straight.
Don't worry about the bums in the hallway. You know what I'm saying? Just step right over. Knock 3 times, ring the doorbell. I'm gonna give you a passcode. So, you know it's bad. He said, but the skill of the physician shall lift up his head. So that means you go pursue the best in the business.
Yeah.
Read that part again.
The skill of the physician shall lift up his head.
Yeah, that means that his skill will make himself well known in the industry. He'll have notoriety. He'll be acclaimed and recognized amongst his constituents. He'll be praised amongst his constituents.
It's okay. It's okay.
It didn't turn too much.
It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
I can get it.
I scored.
I'll tell you what now, yeah. I'll tell you right.
Can you move the chair?
Turn it. Just turn it right. Just turn it. Keep turning. Keep turning. Stop right there. That's good.
Perfect.
Read that again.
God. The skill of the physician shall lift up his head.
Go ahead.
And in the sight of great men, he shall be in admiration.
He shall, in the sight of great men, he shall be in what?
In admiration.
So you should look for a doctor that has some admiration. You should look for a doctor that has notoriety. You should look for a doctor that has some skill behind his name. They got some years and some time behind his name that other doctors know. Oh, he's a good doctor.
They can vouch for him.
They can vouch for him. So you just don't go to anybody. All right? So we're not saying starve yourself to death. What we're saying is go seek medical help if you have that type of issue. But at the same time, you're not only going to seek medical help for the issue, but you're also compounding on top of that issue prayer and fasting. And you're also compounding confession on top of that issue. All right? So we got that? Now, there's different types of therapy. When we looking at that starvation therapy was one of them, which is nothing more medically. For those that didn't know, that we're reading a medical dictionary on starvation therapy. That's nothing more than fasting in the Bible. That's the same thing. Sometimes you gotta fast. There's different types of therapy. You got physical therapy. Physical therapy is where a physician uses physical objects or physical stimulus to heal an issue, like electricity, like one of them TENS units. When you got sore muscles and sore backs, you got them little TENS units that you put the little electrode patches on your body, and they shock you a little bit, and your back is jerking. You know, you're doing that. Yeah, what it's doing is it's stimulating that blood flow, stimulating those muscles to that area, to that wounded area, to that bruised area. You know, or physical therapists will use bands. They'll use them damn stretch bands, them damn elastic bands. Resistance bands is what they're called. They'll use resistance bands. They'll use ice packs. They'll use hydrotherapy. They'll use where you're in the pool. Like if you had back surgery, they'll put you in the pool as soon as you get out. You know, after you heal up a little bit. Yeah, they put you in the pool and you got to move around. You got to get flexible, and they want you. They don't want you to just tighten up. You got to start moving. You have knee surgery. You got to start moving. They put a little device, a little contraption that lays down in your bed. You have knee surgery. They force your knee to. They put your leg in a device that mechanically moves on its own, whether you want it to move or not. You just laying in the bed and you got this thing cranking your leg up and bringing it back down. It forces you to move because that's part of the therapy.
Right.
Because these are things that are necessary in order to, but these are external things. These are external elements that are necessary to attack and heal the issues that you have. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're in a spa treatment or you look at Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather was one of the first boxers to use the cryotherapy. Cryotherapy, anybody know what that is?
Yeah, put you in a freeze you.
Put you in a pot.
It's when you
It's painful,
have
though.
like a tub full of ice.
No, that's an ice tub. Now you see athletes do that now. You see football players, basketball players. You see athletes swimming in buckets of ice. Now, it's not the ice bucket challenge. They're literally dunking and sitting their whole body in ice tubs. What do they do? Why are they doing that?
I heard.
Yes.
I heard the inflammation. It kind of the temperature helps attack the inflammation. I heard that.
Yeah, the cold suppresses the heat, and the inflammation that happens when you work out, you destroy muscle fibers. You tear your body up. You burst all kind of blood vessels. You break all kind of blood cells. And then from the breaking of that blood cells, then you have the leftover remaining, which is lactic acid. And you got to get that lactic acid out of your body. That's where that pain comes from, that soreness comes from.
Remember,
after you work out.
after we hoop.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
No,
It was a whole week.
bro.
All the Jews are just.
Oh, bro, we play one. We don't really do it as much anymore. But you try to go 3 games, bro. You can't even tie your shoe in the morning, bro. You have problems in the morning. You have problems getting up. You got problems moving around. Your body locks up on you. You sometimes same night you get Charlie horses in the back of your leg while you sleep. Sometimes you wake up and you just wake up with one on your back of your hamstring. And you wake up yelling. You wake up not being trying to walk it off, rub it out. You stand up.
Yeah.
You bend over on the side of the bed trying to get it out. Or you just locked up in the bed. You just got to wait. You got to wait it out till it go down on its own. Sometimes it go down and you catch another one. So
Wake up from a cramp.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Get up, walk around.
our bodies have issues, bro. But there's different therapy treatments that are physically able to reduce some of that pain. And that's what physical therapists use. They use different techniques of treatment to resolve physical problems. You know, there's all kind of they use kettlebell exercises. They use treadmills, bicycles, bands. They put you through all kind of things to actually start working on and it's targeted exercises to isolate that affected area. You know, they create a workout plan strategy specifically for your issue, for that particular joint or whatever area of the body that's messed up. Or they'll use injections. They'll use steroids. They'll use acupuncture, try to deaden some of those nerves, trying to reduce some of that pain. I know people that have sciatica, and that when your disc are bulging out and your vertebrae, the disc in between the vertebrae are bulging out, and it's pinching that nerve that runs down the back of your leg, and your damn leg go numb sometimes, and your toes tingle, and then they burn when you stand up. Then it's like electricity shooting down your spine and behind your hip. Sometimes you got to go and they'll go specifically and cauterize that particular nerve to where it deadens the nerve to where you don't feel nothing. Now, that doesn't mean that your disc is not still bulging and pinching your nerve. You just don't feel it. But those are different therapeutic treatments. That's physical therapy. But there's all types of physical therapy needed to attack or at least to soothe a particular problem. Sometimes it's massage. Sometimes they want to put you on heat for 20 minutes and ice for 20 minutes. Sometimes they tell you no heat, only ice. Sometimes they say heat and massage. Sometimes they tell you drink water. You have to drink more water. You have to flush these things out of your system. There's all types of things necessary. So when Christ is telling these disciples that this type only comes by prayer and fasting, what he's saying is there's more than one way to heal a demon, to remove a demon, or to solve a problem. But you got to find a strategy that works specifically for that particular problem. And what we're doing, since we're reading the Bible, we know these issues, they have physical manifestations, but they're spiritual issues. Yes, sir.
Do you think would you say it would, once you get some experience under your belt, that it comes down to combinations of, to rid certain things?
Yes, it is combinations. It is. You have to find a combination that works, but you got to be open-minded too. See, the problem is a lot of us, we have a long-standing issue, and we tell ourselves we know what the issue is because I've had it for a long time. So we're not open to receive instructions or advice when it comes to, hey, brother, you should do this. You should do that. Well, you should try this. A lot of us say, well, I've tried that already. I've done this already. So I don't see how that's going to help me solve my problem. I don't see how that particular advice that you're giving me, that particular set of instructions is going to solve my issues because I know my problems. I've had these problems for a while. Sometimes we get closed-minded.
Right.
And that's the beginning of a more serious issue because you have to. I'll give you an example. I went to physical therapy a couple months ago. Trying to work a little kink out of my shoulder. I went initially in the mindset of, okay, I'm gonna knock this out. What is it really gonna do? I've worked out before. I've had pain before. I've fallen off bikes. I used to do backflips off trees, off fences, off roofs. I've had all kind of injuries. Football, basketball. I've broken bones. I've had all types of injuries. What is this little therapy going to do? So I went in the mind frame that this therapy is not going to do much. And you know what? Because I had that mind frame for the first 3 sessions, it didn't do much. Then I had to change my mindset to say, you know what? Because I'm going in like 6 minutes on a little bicycle. What the hell is 6 minutes on a little bicycle going to do? I used to pop wheelies and ride bikes and do tricks on a BMX bike. What a little 6 minutes on bicycle going to do?
Right.
A little pulley, a little stretch band. I'm doing this on a stretch band. She got me doing this on a stretch band. I'm just doing it like, man, come on, bro. Are you serious? Do 4 sets of 10. I do 4 sets of 10. That's not a problem. This is just 4 sets of 10. What the hell is that going to do?
Right.
She got me on the kettlebell. Just go up. Just pull it back down. The white lady. Yeah, just go up. Come down on the kettlebell.
I'm wasting time.
Like
man.
I went. First of all, I could have did it at home. You know what I'm saying? This ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? I get on the little pulley. She get on the damn pull down bar. Pull down like this. Up down like this. Just up down. Do 4 sets of 10. While I'm doing my 4 sets of 10, she's on the computer, not even paying attention. So I'm just like, okay, I'm done. She said, just call me when you're done. Oh, I'm done. Okay, go like this. Get 5-pound weights. Just go like this. 5-pound weights. I'm just doing 5-pound weights. It's like nothing.
Right.
Then she had on. Then that was just the first few sessions. What I didn't know is that she was going to keep increasing the weight and increasing the reps. So then by the time I came in about the 4th, 5th time, she said, yeah, give me 4 sets of 20 on that. I was like, wow, why so much? Why so much now? Then we ain't doing 5 pounds no more.
Yeah.
We're doing 15. Then we're doing 40.
Wow.
Then we're doing 55 here. Then we do 4 sets of 10 on 55. Now I'm sweating. But you know what? I got to take it serious. See, what she was doing was building me up for that particular weight and for that particular stress level. But I didn't take it serious. I didn't foresee exactly what she was recommending.
Right.
Because in my mind, this ain't nothing. This is lightweight. This ain't gonna do nothing. I could have been doing this somewhere else. But you know what I realized? When I started to take it serious and I started to believe in what I was being shown, and I start actually duplicating the instructions at home, not just doing it when I was there in the office. The idea was that I show you this exercise, you take this home and do it at home. Then you see results. So then it wasn't until I actually start taking the exercise home and the instructions home, and then I start taking it serious, then I start doing it at home, that I actually start feeling better. And that's no joke.
Right. Right.
But you know what? As long as I was in my mind that this isn't going to work, and I was obstructive to her instructions, I was rebellious to her instructions, because I thought it was too simple. I looked down on it. But over time, in actuality, it actually worked the area that was damaged in my shoulder, and now I don't have half the pain I have in the shoulder. 90% of the pain is gone. But I had to change my mindset. You know what I had to do? I had to believe it was going to work.
So that was like a combination of mind and physical.
It was a combination of her instructions that she printed on paper and what she demonstrated that I should do and how to properly do it, mechanically do it properly. The technique had to be proper. And then I had to believe that it was going to work and do it at home and duplicate it at home. I had to take it home. It wasn't just to do it once or twice a week at the clinic. I had to take it home. Do it every day or every other day. I had to follow the instructions. See, and that didn't change. That the healing didn't change until I took it serious. See, a lot of times we have issues, and we don't let anybody give us instruction on how to solve those issues because we don't believe in what they're telling us is the problem. So therefore, we stay with the problem for a long time. We stay with the issue for a long time because I didn't let nobody filter my mind. I didn't let nobody introduce. You watch this with men all the time. Men block instruction.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't let you just introduce ideas and introduce things in their mind, which we're going to get to. That's all part of the class anyway.
Right.
But what we're showing is there's different types of therapy. Different types. Right? I want to get to one of them. Read this for me, though, yeah, right here.
All right. Mental.
It says what?
Mental.
You also have therapy that's physical, like we just explained, and then you have therapy that's what?
Mental.
Then you got therapy that's mental. Now let's explain this so it's clear. Therapy that's mental. What is it? What is mental therapy by definition?
The use of suggestion.
It says the use of what?
Suggestion.
Go ahead.
In the treatment of disease.
So it's the use of what?
Suggestion.
So it's somebody doing what?
Suggesting.
Suggesting something to you. Now what happens if you don't let nobody suggest anything to you?
The disease don't get treated.
Then you stay in a sick mind. You stay with your mental illness. Because you ignore, disregard, disrespect, or repudiate when somebody is giving you suggestions. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, can I get the definition one more time? The use of suggestion.
You read that one more time.
Mental. It's on therapies. Mental. The use of suggestion in the treatment of disease.
So it says the use of what?
Suggestion.
So it's showing you that in some types of therapy, the healing comes from just a mere suggestion. It comes from a mere set of instructions through analysis or through experience. And that's what when you're dealing with a mental therapy, you're dealing with usually a psychologist. And just so we know, let me read this for me, though, yeah.
It says, the bottom line, a psychologist might help you address symptoms.
It says a psychologist might help you do what?
Address symptoms.
So their job is to bring to the forefront what your symptoms are and where they might come from. That's the job of a psychiatrist, right? A psychologist, I mean. Read.
Through therapy.
Go ahead.
And by teaching.
Go ahead.
Coping skills.
And the job of the psychologist is to teach you what?
Coping skills.
They teach you how to cope with your issues. This is through suggestion. This is telling you different ways that have worked for people if you apply these particular set of skills. These set of skills have actually helped people overcome their mental issues. You got to be open for suggestions, first of all, and be ready to receive those suggestions or those instructions. But you got to let somebody give you some other alternatives to the way you think in order to help give you some type of therapy. What else?
While a psychiatrist, not psychologist, can prescribe medications and other treatments to ease your symptoms.
So both deal with the mind, but one is giving you more coping skills. The other one is giving you medication to help ease some of your issues, mental issues. So there's a difference between the psychologist and the psychiatrist. Yes.
When I came from the war, there was in the military.
Can you speak up a little bit? Because I want the camera to catch it too.
They would have you seeing the psychologist to, it's kind of like a 12-step program. And they would teach you how to address and how to cope with all your PTSD issues. And then they would have you seeing the psychiatrist to give you medicine to, if you were having like anxiety issues or depressive issues from being in the war itself.
You know, because the war is going to come home with you.
Yes. So they had you seeing the psychologist, and he was giving you things to help cope with those issues that you were having. And then the psychiatrist, he was medicating you for depression or anxiety that you had from the war.
To help alleviate those symptoms.
Yes.
exactly what we just read. Is what you've experienced being a veteran and coming back from a war-torn environment. And I've heard many stories of PTSD. One in particular is the smell of burning flesh.
Oh my God.
That one of our clients said that she that's one of the things that never left her mind and that stayed in the back of her brain. Smells, first of all, lodge themselves in the deepest part of the memory. Yes, sir.
I remember a customer told me that she don't eat barbecue no more because it remind her of burning flesh.
Right.
The time she went to that war.
Right.
She never ate it.
Because you know that's a smell that stays in it lodges itself in the back deepest part of the memory, and it never leaves you. It's like certain sounds, certain smells, that the smell of dead flesh, rotting, burnt, charred. She said never again. She can't sleep. It still haunts her mind. But so now, how do you?
How many steps you go through? How many pills you take? It's always there.
It's always there. You just got to do your best to try to cope with it, because it's an impression left on your mind that you can't pull out. It like any other traumatic experience that you got to live with for the rest of your life, and you have to learn different methods and strategies on how to cope with these particular issues. So that's what the mental therapy comes in at. Matter of fact, read that definition one more time, Dawiyat.
Right here. Mental. The use of suggestion in the treatment of disease.
Right? So it's for particular suggestions. Now, I like what you said about that 12-step program, because that's basically what Alcoholics Anonymous is about. I'll read the definition of it. It says Alcoholics Anonymous is an international organization of peer groups who meet to support each other. Members meet to support each other, also discuss issues and concerns related to their addiction, and to support one another through triumphs and relapses. Generally, more seasoned group members sponsor newer members, guiding them through the process of working the steps, the 12 steps program. It says to help on alcohol rehabilitation. Same thing with NA, AA. There's different steps that you have to work through and processes to be able to cope or deal with your issues. You know what I'm saying? So it's explaining that this support is brought on by peer groups. And these are just some of the things that you need in order to learn how to deal with severe or traumatic situations that never left your mind, that has caused you complications in your life and destroyed the quality of life, especially mentally. Right? Now, I'm going to read this right quick. I want you to read this real quick. This is called the Anger Workbook. Right? This is called the Anger Workbook. All right? Now, this is just, I'm only bringing this out to just show that when you have an issue, you have to seek strategies. You have to seek strategies and solutions.
Can we get that one more time for the camera?
For the camera. The Anger Workbook. You can watch it in class again.
They sell
It's called
this?
Yeah, they sell it. It's called the Anger Workbook. All right? $21 it says, but you probably get it for $2 online or something like that. But I'm only bringing this to show that when you have a problem, you have to be open to do whatever it takes to start seeking a solution. So whether it's peer groups, whether it's classes, whether it's counseling, whether it's confession, you got to start getting out your problems and your issues, and you got to start seeking some type of help and get the therapy needed so that you can overcome or at least deal with and cope with and sustain yourself throughout your issues. We're not reading the whole book. We're just bringing it out just for explanation points to show different strategies. But we will read at least this part right here, from here to here.
All right. A psychologist with a combined 52 years in practice.
So this is the guy that wrote this book. He had 52 years of practice dealing with psychology. He wrote this book. Read.
We've come to some conclusions about the problem of anger. 1 through 4?
1 through 5.
Okay. For most people, Chronic anger covers incredible pain. While anger often feels like a
It
release,
says, for most people, chronic anger covers incredible pain. So chronic means it's persistent. Go ahead.
and while anger often feels like a release at the moment,
It feels like a solution. Go ahead.
it inevitably makes an underlying pain worse.
But anger actually doesn't help you. It makes it worse. That's what he's saying. Go ahead. Number 2. Point. These are the 5 things that this individual has found out in his 52 years of psychology. That actually being angry about a situation makes your situation worse. It doesn't help you. Number 2.
Of those people who suffered the greatest damage in childhood, most were harmed by repeated exposure to anger. The majority of chronically angry people were also damaged by anger as children.
So it's showing you that people that have chronic anger, that are always angry, they were also affected by somebody that was always angry. You see how that anger was perpetrated on somebody else, or passed down to somebody else, or they what's the word? Projected their anger to somebody else. So when you're angry, you project anger to other people, and you just pass down this negative domino effect. But usually that's what angry people have suffered. They've suffered the environment of angry individuals, and they've adopted them spirits. They've adopted that issue. They don't have peace of mind because the people they're around didn't have peace of mind. They have a toxic mentality because their environment was a toxic one. He said a lot of times that's what this particular psychologist said that he's learned in his 52 years. That toxic people and angry people have been around angry people and were groomed by angry people.
Wow.
Read on.
It says, number 3, people struggling with chronic anger suffer long-term consequences in both work.
It damages and affects their job. They can't work well with people. They're always angry. What else?
And personal relationships.
And it damages their what?
Personal relationships.
So what you're dealing with, what you're looking at is, man, when you have these particular mental issues, they're going to affect your workplace and your home life. Wherever you go, the problem goes with you.
Yeah. It's not like you can't separate and isolate from it.
No, and it's not like it's just that environment.
That was just
or
in
just
Waco,
those
Texas.
or it's just those people, or it was just that day,
Yeah.
or it was just that circumstance,
That circumstance.
or it's just that particular person just gets under my skin. No, they don't. You carry this with you wherever you go. This is brought on by you, to you, from, and it's affecting other people around you. But it's coming from within. But you usually get it from somebody else. Read.
They tend to feel more alone.
It says, and because their anger it affects the workplace, it affects the relationship. There's not many people that they can vibe with. There's not many people that they can endure or be around. It creates more of an antisocial environment wherever they are. Read on.
It says more disappointed by life.
And they're more disappointed by what?
By life.
Because they're always what?
Angry.
Because they're always angry. They can't see the good side of life. They can't see the bright side of life.
And it's a major killer of just joy in life. It's
Yeah.
a killer of blessings.
Yeah, it's hard to be happy and angry at the same time. Read.
And less nourished.
It says, and they feel less nourished. Go ahead.
By their relationships.
Yeah, because the anger has caused sour travail and has caused a rift between their partner. So their partner is more distant. Because there's a consequence and a negative effect to the anger.
Yeah.
So now their partner is more distant. So now I feel isolated, and I'm not really being nourished in the relationship. Because there's something there that has not been resolved. Go ahead.
Number 4, the greatest predictor of satisfaction in marriage is how people learn to handle conflict and anger.
Read that again.
The greatest predictor of satisfaction in marriage is.
He says the greatest predictor of satisfaction in marriage is what?
How people.
It's how people do what?
Learn.
It's how people learn. Go ahead.
To handle conflict and anger.
This is important because the word treatment comes from a Middle English word tretant or trinit, a treating, Treten. That word actually means to handle. So when you say the word treatment, that word actually means to handle. It's how you handle something. So when he's saying the greatest predictor of satisfaction in marriage is how people learn to handle conflict and anger. It's the treatment that you utilize. It's the treatment that you induce.
That we choose.
It's the approach.
Yeah.
It's the choice. It's the openness to change. It's the openness to suggestion. It's the advice that you choose to receive. It's the counsel that you choose to receive. Because all these are treatment plans. All these are ways to handle your issues. If you got problems, you need multiple ways to handle your issues. You can't handle or treat a problem the same way expecting a new result. That is insanity. So you need new ways, new methods, new strategies. So if you want, it says the greatest predictor of satisfaction in marriage is the treatment that you apply to your conflict and your anger.
Wow.
How do you induce and how do you treat your problem? How do you handle your issues? That's going to determine whether you know how to have a successful marriage or not. That will determine whether your marriage will bloom and blossom or will crash and burn. Because people don't know how to handle or process anger and conflict. Number five. Because they don't have a treatment strategy.
And once again, as psychologists with a combined 52 years, and that's almost 100 years of practice.
Yeah.
Number 5. Anger is a learned.
It's a what?
Anger is a learned response.
So you weren't born like that. Somebody put their anger and projected their anger on you. Somebody destroyed your positivity, the joy and the innocence that children have. Somebody lashed out and unleashed and damaged your ability to look at things positive. He says it's a learn, but here's the bright side. Because it's learned, it can be unlearned. That's the good side of it. Anything that you've learned, you can unlearn it. Read that one more time.
And the anger response can be unlearned.
Boom. Go ahead.
With commitment and effort.
What is it going to take?
Commitment and effort. It's both.
It's both. What did Christ say about that lunatic child?
Prayer and fasting.
It's going to take both. Meaning there's more than one way of application that you need to solve problems. If you have problems that have been long-standing and have not left you for a long time, then you're not doing enough. You're not accepting more approaches and more strategies and more solutions to unlearn these problems. We got that? Yes, sir.
This class runs kind of lateral to last Monday's class. Disposition of a perfect heart.
Con. It's
disposition. I've been studying that. That's deep about how your mind is set. So,
it's all.
It's right here in the middle of it.
It's all good. It's all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
It's how you handle and how you treat your issues. Right. And are you applying enough effort and enough strategies to solve your problems? Are you really trying to unlearn what you've taught yourself that's negative?
Or no?
Or you're not doing enough? Because that's what the disciples told Christ. They said, "How come we couldn't heal the child? Y'all weren't believing enough."
I want to do the same one too, and expect everything to change up and get fixed.
Yep. It don't work like that. Let that go. We'll go to the next strategy. Read that right there. Words can change your brain.
Well, I need
Words can change your brain.
Mental.
Like I said, we ain't reading all these books, bro. But what is the point? These are just different strategies. If you wish to apply, there's all kind of strategies for your problems. You just got to look for them. You have to be humble enough to accept the fact that you got a problem. We know that words can change your brain. We know that. We know that from the scriptures. But it says words can change your brain. So what you tell yourself can affect your thought process. Read this, page 74. Read this right here.
Page 74.
Yeah, just read down to the yellow.
It is interesting. It is an interesting paradox. We need to have an observing self to be conscious.
He said you gotta have a what?
An observing self to be conscious.
So that means you have to have an inward reflection within yourself to be conscious. That means you gotta look within your conscious. Read on.
looking at yourself.
You have to look at yourself.
Right, okay.
Read.
But most of us are unconscious of the observing self.
Go ahead.
Instead,
It says there's a reason why a lot of us are unconscious. Why do a lot of us walk around unconscious? Read.
instead, we give far more attention to the superficial self-image.
It says we give more attention to the superficial self-image. What does that mean? Read on.
Of who we think we are.
So it's not the truth about us. We walk around with the mask. We walk around in a costume. We walk around with the giving people, you know, the
persona,
the avatar.
Yeah.
We got avatars. We give people, you know, like, you know, we got our own avatars decorated, like that little Apple phone, like when you get to draw yourself a little cartoon character. You get
That's why it's popular.
you get to pick your image, you get to pick your hairstyle, and it's your avatar on the Apple phone. So when people texting and your mouth is moving on a little cartoon figure, but it says we're too absorbed with who we think we are, which is not a reality,
That's crazy.
versus who we actually are. Yes, sir.
We're going to say therapists refer to that as their ego.
Very much so.
The alter ego?
No,
ego.
just ego.
Like someone who's very egotistical.
Right.
Oh.
So they can't see themselves. They're too busy. They're too busy walking around life trying to express and only willing to see who they think they are. That's all that matters to them. It's who I think I am.
Wow.
Not actually what's wrong with me.
I'm that.
Yeah. I'm giving, I'm charitable. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, take that.
So he says, who we think we are, go ahead.
These impressions are filled with our fantasies.
He says these impressions are filled with what?
Our fantasies.
So when we aren't truthful and sincere about our issues, we live life fake. We embrace a fake persona, and that fake persona is what we try to uphold, and that's all we want to see. We don't want to see the real nitty gritty and address the real issues that we possess. We just want to gloss over that and only look at who I think I am. I want you to see who I think I am. I don't want you to look at who I really am. Don't talk about that guy. Talk about this guy. Address this man right here. Don't address that guy. I don't know. That's the old man. I don't want to meet that guy either. Read on.
And judgments about who we want to be and who we fear we might be. But none of these ideas is accurate.
It says none of these ideas are accurate.
So that's what Kyle calls people have an inaccurate assessment of self.
They have an inaccurate assessment of self. Because I don't want to address my real issues. Read on.
When we learn how to use our observing self to watch these other images, we begin to realize they aren't necessarily real.
It says when you
killer,
choose to observe yourself and your conscious, you start realizing that person that you say you are, that you want to be, that you only want to promote is only the good guy that I am. Don't look at the other negative. Look at the good guy that I am. I don't want to address that other side. I want to live in the fantasy, and I want you to live in this fantasy with me. He says you'll find out when you do some soul searching that character is not real. And that's what's called cognitive distortion. Read that right here.
Whoa.
Cognitive distortion is an exaggerated.
It's a what?
An exaggerated.
It's an exaggerated what?
An exaggerated or irrational thought pattern.
It's an exaggerated or irrational thought pattern. Go ahead.
Involved in the onset or perpetuation of psychological states.
Go ahead.
Such as depression and anxiety.
So depression, anxiety is a cognitive distortion.
Cognitive distortions are thoughts that cause individuals to perceive reality inaccurately.
What did you say Cabo calls it?
An inaccurate assessment of self.
That's what a cognitive distortion is. It's when you're having an inaccurate assessment of yourself.
Just bad shit crazy, huh?
Yeah. Well,
listen, let's really be a liar.
Well, it really is a liar.
It's a liar.
But it's one thing when you want other people to believe it.
Yeah.
Because that's how we make it even more crazy. Because we want other people to believe our rational thought process.
And a political example of that is, this is a real woman.
No.
I'm not going to go into it, but you get the idea, right? This is being forced on you to believe this, because this person's delusion's there. I am a cat, a dog, a they.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a shark.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm a goddess. But now you are forced to believe it because it's proper right now. But this is a cognitive distortion.
Because they're defended. Because they got legislation.
Yeah.
Read.
Cognitive distortion have negative outlook or reality, sometimes called negative schemas or schemata. Is a factor in symptoms of emotional dysfunction.
It's a symptom of what?
Emotional dysfunction.
What else?
And poor subjective well-being. Specifically, negative thinking patterns.
It's specifically what?
Specifically negative thinking patterns.
So a cognitive distortion is somebody just has a negative thinking pattern, or they live in a fantasy, or they're subjected to depression because of their outlook is contaminated. And the reason why this is why they're depressed, because they have a consistent negative thinking pattern. They're constantly brooding on negative, meditating on negative, thinking about negative, assuming negative,
right.
Only looking at negative. That inner voice is negative. Yes, sir.
What dictionary is that?
That is just Wikipedia. Yeah. Read.
It says reinforces negative emotions and thoughts.
So those negative thinking patterns reinforce what?
Emotions and thoughts.
They reinforce emotions and thoughts.
And this is distortion for people. People think because they feel a certain thing that it's real.
Yep.
Because I feel it and it's real. There was a lady online, she was saying, I had to realize in my marriage that every time my feelings were hurt, I was not being attacked. That was a major step of growth for that person. Because people feel attacked every day doesn't mean you are being attacked. Doesn't mean in reality you're being attacked. You just feel like you're being attacked. That could be just our pride being touched. Always have to look at ourselves and see our real selves. If a person's practice not being that reflective person, I don't see myself. Every time somebody forces us to see ourselves, I'm being attacked.
Yep. I get defensive.
You're killing the character. You're killing the character I created of myself.
But the character is only a projection, like an image.
Yeah.
It's only a projection. It's
from something else.
It's a projection from my thoughts. So I want you to see the way I want you to see me the way I look at myself. I'm not that bad of a person. I'm this, and that. I'm A-okay. I don't see what your problem is because I don't really want to deal with my issues. So we're just taking anger as just an example. There's a multitude of dysfunctions that we have to deal with, or that may be attracted to us or attached to us from childhood. But you got to be willing, if you want therapy in this particular way, you have to be willing to start looking at yourself. And if you're constantly meditating on negative, that negative thought process will contaminate your emotional behavior. It'll become a part of your emotions, and you'll make it a reality.
And it affects the, like you said earlier, work environment,
home environment, relationships. Real quick, Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 32.
Proverbs chapter 30, 32.
Read that.
Yes, sir. Proverbs chapter 30, verse 32. It says, if thou hast done foolishly.
It says, if thou hast done what?
Foolishly in lifting up thyself.
So, what's a foolish thing?
To lift ourselves
Lifting up thyself.
To lift up yourself. That means to think a certain way as being correct. Read on.
It says, or
that's an error. To lift up yourself is an error. To only want to see yourself in a certain light is an error, and not be open for suggestion, which is what mental therapy is when you open yourself up for suggestion. Read.
Or if thou hast thought evil.
Or if you have what? Thought
evil.
Or if your mind has been meditating on what?
Evil.
So if you do have that schemata, if you do have that consistent negative thinking pattern, that cognitive distortion where all you see things is negative, if you do have that mind, or you do think on negative, or you thought evil, read on.
Lay thy hand upon thy mouth.
What does that mean? Shut up. That means everything you think, whether that be of how you look at yourself or the evil that's in your mind, it doesn't have to be said or expressed to other people. Some things are for self-analyzation and correction. But when you keep thinking on it, talking about it, just talk about what people do wrong to you. You're the victim. People are attacking me. Everybody's against me. The world is against me. Brothers are against me. Sisters are against me. Nobody likes me. You keep on with that negative, meditating on that negative thinking. You keep up with that negative pattern. What happens? Read.
You want 33?
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs chapter 30, verse 33. Surely the churning of milk.
So when you keep turning milk, what does it turn into?
Bringeth forth butter.
It says, when you keep turning milk, you add a little salt, and you just keep whipping milk up. And milk, if you just keep on whipping it, you just keep whipping it. What does milk turn into?
Butter.
It turns into butter.
It's a product that comes from it.
It changes form. Is what happens when you keep whipping milk. When you keep negative thoughts in your mind, it changes forms
to a finer version.
More compressed, dense version.
Not finer. A more solid version. A more solid version. A thicker version. Because now he's saying when you turn milk, it turns into butter. That means you keep on agitating it. It's the same way with negative thoughts. You keep on meditating with negative thoughts. It doesn't just stop at just being thoughts. It changes form into something else. But it solidifies, but into what? To actions. And that action is called what? Wrath.
Wrath.
Which is negative behavior.
And guys says too. And people use the idea. People always say about manifesting. All right, this is the reality. This is real manifesting,
right?
Not the left hand manifesting. All right, this is just basic behaviorism. You keep playing this room. You keep ruminating and entertaining this thought about choking this. I'm gonna choke her out. I'm gonna choke her out because you keep arguing. You're gonna look at yourself. You're gonna find yourself on TV.
Yeah.
Because people go to what they call blind rages. That blind rage is when you've meditated so many times. Now your spirit is in action. Now it's in your spirit. Now you're taking action because you've said it. Man, you keep talking to me. Man, I'm gonna see. I'm gonna show this person. I'm gonna show this person. You keep talking to me. I'm gonna show. Then all of a sudden, then they show you. that spirit comes out. And like Sean wants to say, in action. You manifested that because you kept giving your conscience to it. You kept entertaining that spirit. And the scripture says, don't play with sin. Sin's like the face of an adder, right? What's adder? It's a serpent. A serpent does what?
Right.
It bites you.
Yeah.
So you play and entertain that negative thinking, that thing's going to do what?
Bite you.
Bite you
Now he's gonna bite you and somebody else.
and somebody else.
Yes,
Yes.
because this is like a war mentioned. Say he that despises man despises not man, but who?
The Most High.
The Most High. So you may act that out on people, but you're really offending the Most High
Why do you say bite somebody else?
because
When you're
it
the one doing it.
yeah, but it's not. It has an outward effect. You project your wrath out on other people. The first example of that is Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
The Most High told Cain, he said, if thou doest well, will I not be accepted?
Yeah.
You'll be blessed. He told Cain, he asked Cain, why art thou wroth?
He was angry.
He said, sin lieth at the what?
At the door.
What does that mean? That means if you keep it up, you're one step away from sinning.
Opening the door. And
You're about to open the door for sin. Because you're constantly in your wrath. You're constantly in your feelings.
right.
So read verse 33 again.
Proverbs chapter 30, verse 33. Surely the churning of milk bringeth forth butter, and the wringing of the nose.
And you keep turning somebody's nose. Or you keep blowing your own damn nose. What's going to happen?
The nose bringeth forth blood.
Meaning it doesn't stop. The meditation of evil doesn't stop with just thoughts. It manifests itself. It changes forms. It evolves. It grows. It becomes worse. You ring somebody's nose, they're going to bleed. You keep blowing your nose over and over, your nose going to bleed. You're going to bust in blood vessels.
Right.
Then you have to stick the toilet paper up your face, and then you have ice pack on your nose, and with your head tilted back, spitting out blood out your mouth. Because he's showing you how things evolve. Meditating on negative thoughts evolve. They don't stop on just with where you say, you know what, man, I don't like this person. I can't get along with this person. I can't stand this person. Man, you keep playing with that thought. Or keep saying what you're going to do, and nobody better test your gangster. Nobody better test me.
Right.
They're going to test my gangster.
Right.
You know, you keep saying that eventually, like that way I just mentioned, eventually something's going to happen. It's going to manifest itself. It's going to explain. Read on. Yes, sir.
That churning of milk is an agitation.
Yeah, you're agitating it. You're stirring up negative thoughts.
Right.
This is the inward sickness that people possess that need mental therapy, but they don't realize they need it because they can't see the fact. They're not honest about the fact that they meditate on evil 90% of the day.
90% on it.
Read.
It says, so the forcing of wrath bringeth forth strife.
And when you keep forcing wrath, it brings forth what?
Strife.
Strife is a fight. That's what strife is. Strife is a fight. Strife is a debate. Strife is an argument. Strife is contention. Strife is going back and forth with somebody, standing in opposition with somebody. You keep on floating on negative thinking, eventually there's going to be a fight to go with it. There's going to be an argument to go with it. There's a contention to go with it. There's a debate to go with it. There's something that where somebody's standing in opposition to you from the way you think, because the way you think is negative. That's the evolution of negative thinking. That's how negative. That's the outward result and the evolution of negative. Somebody had their hand up. All right, he says, so the forcing of wrath bringeth forth what?
Strife.
So then you got a fight on your hands. Now you have some debate on your hands. Now you have arguments on your hands. Now you have enmity on your hands, hatred on your hands, going back and forth. Now you got a contest, because that's what strife is also. It's a contest.
Who can have the last word?
Who gonna get the last word? Who gonna deliver the last blow?
Yeah.
Who gonna lose the worst out of this situation?
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna fare the best? Who's gonna get the best of who? Who's gonna put who down the worst?
I'm gonna teach you a lesson.
Who gonna teach you a lesson? All these things. Now you got a contest on your hands. He's showing you where is it coming from.
Strife.
No. It comes from thinking on evil too much.
Mm.
When you don't let nobody calm that mind down You don't let anybody give you suggestions, and you're not humble enough to embrace suggestions that help you teach strategies to come out of that mentality. You have to be open for strategies. That's why he talked about AA and the power of AA meetings or NA meetings. They give you coping strategies, coping mechanisms. That's the job of a psychologist, to give you coping strategies, coping mechanisms on how to deal with your issues. You need to embrace these things, bro. You can't be so prideful as to think that you can fix yourself.
That's for them, not for you. This is why people become their own doctors out, and they don't be winning.
Yep.
That's why you need outside help. People, this self doctorate concept, people. Yeah, this doesn't work. It does not work, bro. People become their own psychologist, their own doctor. You're always gonna agree with yourself. That's the funny part.
Yep.
You're never wrong, because you always agree with you. And you can't see it from outside yourself because you are yourself.
Which ultimately is a bad disposition.
You're gonna lose. You can say it, come. But people, the point I'm trying to say is people only hear their own opinion, but their own opinion put them in a situation.
Yep. So he says, in this portion right here, read this. He says, we begin to realize that what?
We begin to realize that they aren't necessarily real.
That these so-called distortions, these negative thoughts that we possess, these characters that we created, they aren't necessarily what?
Real.
They're not necessarily real. Read on.
They're just opinions.
They're just what?
Opinions.
So half of the things that we think and we meditate on are just what?
Opinions.
They're not reality, bro. They're not real. They're only real because you think it. So they're real to you. But they're not actually real in the fact that that's the truth. From what's real to you isn't the truth. But you won't let nobody show you the truth because you're not open for suggestions. And this is how we stay mentally deprived.
Yeah.
And therapy you haven't allowed therapy to run its course and to really be effective. Read on.
From ourselves and others that we've come to accept over the years.
Go ahead.
The emerging research on conscientiousness suggests that the observing self can take more accurate view of reality.
It means that you can do more to see yourself. You just have to be open for suggestions. There is more that you can do to be honest about yourself.
We're going to be more honest.
You can always be more honest about yourself. You can always get to the core of your issues a lot better, a lot sooner, and without less strife and contention. If you really decide to take a real honest view at yourself, and you really open yourself up for other people to improve the way you think, or to have a certain impression on you. But that's what pride does. Pride doesn't allow anybody to impress or to put in or insert a newer, better strategy to the way of how I deal with myself or how I look at myself. I want to maintain that inaccurate view. Read on.
It doesn't seem to get upset like our normal selves do. The more we reflect on this deeper form of awareness, the less anxious and depressed we become.
It says, so the more that you start looking at yourself a lot deeper and a lot more sincerely and a lot more honest, and you allow people to show you better suggestions, better coping mechanisms, better strategies, then you can actually start improving your mental health. You can actually start improving. You can let it go from that point. Yes, sir.
So is it also like a fear? Like if you open yourself up to that, you're going to force me to see a side of myself I don't want to see?
A lot of times it is fear. That was one of the things he mentions, that people are afraid. They're afraid to actually, they've been hiding, masking, covering up, avoiding. People have been doing all types of things to not see, to not look at the real issues and the real person. So it is kind of fearful when you actually start seeing, and people start to see the real you and the real fears that you possess. You know, your ego is involved.
That's why a lot of people self-medicate.
They self-medicate. They numb themselves. because they don't want to deal with the real
Mm-hmm.
pain, regret, sorrow.
And the reality of how much work it takes to change.
Yeah, but if you actually start being honest, you can actually start seeing yourself. You can actually start getting a healthy perspective, and let somebody give you some alternatives as far as strategies go to learn how to cope with your problems, so that the outward effect doesn't have to end in strife or wrath or debate or sin right around the corner, or somebody being put on blast.
Or having to apologize.
Oh yeah, I'm
That's
sorry.
stupid.
Forgive me for the 10,000th time.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Some people don't even have a problem with themselves, and they say, "Well, you got a problem with me. I don't got a problem with myself."
Right. That's somebody that they're a long way from change. They're a long way from change. And like I said, they're going to stay in their issues for a longer period of time. They're going to retain those negative, those cognitive distortions. They're going to maintain that cognitive distortion, and their behavior is going to be off.
So is it like a thought process? Like if you're giving me an adjustment or correction, it's not supposed to feel uncomfortable.
No, it's supposed no.
What I'm saying is
Correction
the
is
thought process.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
correct.
Is that the thought process? It's not supposed to feel uncomfortable. That's why I know it's wrong. Type of thing.
Well, you know what? A lot of people process things differently. But if you know the scriptures, we know that it says correction is grievous to them that what? Forsake the way. Correction doesn't feel good.
But I think it should.
But we think that people should correct me based on how I see myself. That if I see myself as being a pretty good guy, then that means you shouldn't yell at me. Why? Because I'm a pretty good guy. But that's based on how I see myself. So I'll embrace the correction based on how I see myself. If I think that if I'm not deserving to be yelled at, I don't deserve this type of treatment. I'm above that, being yelled at. Then I'm not going to embrace correction too well if it's coming in a higher pitched tone. You're being unfair. I don't deserve to be yelled at and at this level, because I didn't do anything to be yelled at. You're attacking me. But you're attacking how I look at myself. Christ, the scripture said, when Christ was reviled, he reviled not again. He just took it. He just absorbed it. He said he left it up to him that judges righteously. You know what that means? I'll let the Most High decide who's right or wrong. I'm not going to stand up for it. Call me what you want. The Most High will determine who's right out of this situation. The Father is just. He'll apply justice and equity. Yes, sir.
And that's how he dealt with dumb stuff, because there's a lot of dumb people.
Yes.
That will approach you.
Yeah, but you're supposed to also deal with dumb stuff the same way he did.
Exactly.
And it says that in the same verse, or right next to it.
So he just
it says in that same verse in Peter. Yes, he absorbed it, but in that same verse in Peter.
With no comeback.
Second Peter chapter 2.
Yeah, because I need to take me. For stupid people.
Go to 2 Peter chapter 1 Peter, I'm sorry, chapter 2. Start at verse 21.
First Peter?
Mm-hmm. Chapter 2, verse 21. Read that.
First Peter chapter 2 and verse 21.
Read that.
For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us.
It says you were called to do exactly what Christ did, because Christ suffered for us. Read on.
Leaving us an example.
Leaving us a what?
An example.
Leaving us a what?
An example.
What is the example for? Read on.
That ye should follow his steps.
So Christ left an example for you to follow. Christ left a strategy for you to follow. Christ left a technique for you to follow. There's answers to these issues if you follow Christ. Read on.
Who did no sin.
Christ didn't deserve any of it. A lot of us may say we didn't deserve it. We don't deserve to be talked to a certain way. We don't deserve to be accused. We don't deserve to be said to be infamous or doing something ill or having bad intentions. I don't deserve that. We may say the same thing. Read on.
Neither was guile found in his mouth.
It said, but neither was guile, slander found in his mouth. Read on.
Who, when he was reviled not again.
It says, who, when he was reviled, he did what?
Reviled not again.
He didn't come back. He didn't have a revengeful mind frame. I'm going to prove to you my innocence. I'm going to get you back. Dirt for dirt. Sin for sin. Eye for an eye. Christ didn't have that mentality. Read on.
When he suffered.
It says, when he suffered, and you're supposed to be following these footsteps. Read on.
He threatened not.
He didn't threaten. Read on.
But committed himself.
It says, but he did what?
Committed himself.
You have to really be conscious of the Most High to do this. This will be almost impossible to do if you're not conscious of the Most High. When somebody's attacking you, setting you up for failure, at that moment, you have to really be conscious of the Most High in order not to return fire for fire. You have to be conscious of the Most High to do this. He says, when he suffered, go ahead.
He threatened not.
Go ahead.
But committed himself.
He said, but he committed himself to who?
To him that judgeth righteously.
Who is that?
Most High.
So he said, I'll let the Most High decide who's right or wrong. I'll let the Most High defend me in this situation. You got to be conscious of the Most High to not go into defense mode for yourself or to not react on your own. You have to maintain a high consciousness of the Father. Most High take care of me for this. I'm not going to worry about it. Read.
Who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree.
So we got to be like Christ in dealing with that situation. Now, that's why in James 1:19, read that real quick in James chapter 1 verse 19.
James 1, verse 19. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear.
That's why it says, wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be what?
Swift to hear.
You ought to practice listening versus talking. We should do more listening than talking. A lot of times we feel like the things that we got to say are justified or necessary. No, it's not. It's not always justified or necessary. I got to show this person that they're wrong. No, you don't always have to. I got to show you, since you said I'm full of it, I got to show you that you're full of it. You can go back and forth all day. He said, but, it's better to learn how to have a different strategy and a different approach to when you feel like you're being attacked. Or you feel like somebody's accusing you wrongfully. Read.
Slow to speak.
He said, be slow to speak. What else?
Slow to wrath.
It said, swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to what?
Wrath.
That means you ought to slow down, is what he's saying. Swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. That means I should be a fast listener, but I should respond and I should think. I should think before I respond. I should think before I react. I should think before I let loose my emotions. This is how I deal with circumstances that may agitate me or turn me into somebody else that I don't need to be. Which is what, since we're dealing with it, is that angry individual. I don't want to be turned into this damn madman. These are just strategies. Another strategy right here. Like I said, we're not reading all this. We're just taking some points out. Read that right here. It's another strategy. Go ahead.
24-hour commitment to act calm.
So another strategy is to make a 24-hour commitment to do what?
Act calm.
So I got to make a commitment within myself. Now this is the same guy, the same psychologist who was in the practice for 52 years. It's the same guy that wrote this. He said, you got to try, go for a day. Be a different person at least for 24 hours. Try to consciously be different for 24 hours. Try to consciously not get upset and angry for 24 hours. Try to sustain self-control for 24 hours. Try to not think and meditate on negative for at least 24 hours. Try it for one day. What did he say? Just to highlight it.
Okay. Effective anger management starts
It
with
says effective anger management, which is a mental disorder. Depression, anger, anxiety is a mental issues. Effective anger management, go ahead.
starts with a specific time limited decision.
So you got to set a time, and you got to say, you know what? Today I'm gonna make a commitment to change. I'm not gonna let these demons, whatever they are, get the best of me.
Manipulate me
Manipulate
as
me
usual.
like they do. Go ahead.
Just for a single 24-hour day.
She said, try it. Right here.
It says, assume that during the 24 hours.
It says you have to plan for provocation. That means you got to plan that people may piss you off.
Which is a real thing.
That's a real thing. You have to plan that people might say something stupid to you or cross you. That means you got to have foresight. You got to think about it in advance, and you already have to have a comeback and an answer if, in case, somebody says something stupid. If, in case, somebody has something against me, or accuse me falsely, or get under my skin, or pisses me off. I've already thought about it. And I've already thought about an answer. And I've already thought about a method of operation of how I'm going to handle that situation. I've already put together a treatment plan, which means to handle a situation. I've already put together a treatment plan on how I'm going to deal with somebody that gets under my skin if anger is my issue. I've already thought about it in advance. I already know what I'm going to do. I've already meditated. I'm training myself to respond to an issue that I know that I have that's a major complication for me. He says, plan for provocation. Go ahead.
Assume that during the 24 hours, things will happen to upset you. A few of them can probably even anticipate or be anticipated. It says events that could threaten your commitment. Right below, at least 4 provoked events that could threaten your commitment to calm behavior for 24 hours.
So he's saying write it down. Write these things down that you know if anger is your issue. Write down 4 things that you know that you could address. That you could write down to say, man, if these 4 things happen today, I'm going to be pissed off. These 4 things going to piss me off. But you know what it does? It forces you to do what? Address it. It forces you to address it and to examine yourself. Remember what the definition of a psychologist is. A psychologist, his job is to help you address the symptoms of your problems. So you have to, that's not, his job is just to bring it to your attention. Your job is to do the homework. You got to take the advice home with you. You have to start implementing these strategies to erase the outcome. The outcome is it puts you in bad relations with people on the job and at home, or in your marriage, or with your friends, or with your family. So you have to look at what he's doing. He's forcing you to address what's in you, and having an answer and a solution ready made in case this happens. I should have solutions before I just walk into a trap. Somebody just pushed my buttons. Then you know what? You should have already thought about an answer on how to defuse it. Read this right here.
First and most important, stop. Don't do or say anything.
So if somebody do get you angry, he says stop. Don't say or do anything. Read.
Don't act on the angry feelings. This is just an emotion.
So he's explaining that your anger is just a what?
An emotion.
And we know emotions come from opinions, and opinions are fantasies and aren't always real. They're not always facts. Read.
It's a strong one, but you can feel it without turning it into behavior.
So he's saying is don't let anger turn into a behavior. Stop it before it turns into something else. Stop it while it's still just an emotion. That's why it says the churning of milk turns into butter. Stop it while it's still milk. Stop it while it's still in that state. Don't meditate on it. Don't respond to it. Yes, sir.
I was going to ask, what if you don't necessarily act on it, but your countenance alone, that situation, What caused that to turn to butter?
Then you are acting on it. It's just you're not saying it, but your affect and your body language is saying it.
Ultimately, your mind, right?
Right, but if I might not say I'm angry, but my face says it all.
Hey, that was it.
So I could try to deny it. I could try to deny it and be like
Uh-huh.
you mad, bro? No.
It's a lie.
That's a lie, bro. That's a lie. That's a lie. You mad, bro? Nah, bro. You tripping. Now, to answer your question, let's just read the next page. Read the highlighted part right here.
One of the quickest ways to change a painful feeling is to act the opposite.
What does he mean?
Whoa.
What does he mean? Let's read these 4 things that he says. 5 things as the quickest ways to change a painful feeling, which is anger. Number 1.
Smile instead of frown.
So if when somebody piss you off, do what?
Smile.
Smile.
Wow.
Just smile as Brother Kemp. Right?
Yeah,
Wow.
I should be smiling, man. Yeah. That's a grit your teeth smile. Uh-huh. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. It says smile instead of frown. A frown.
Speak softly
Rather what?
rather than loudly.
Proverbs 15:1. A soft answer does what? Turn it away wrath, bro. So
This is important. This is important.
it said these are quick things that you can do to diffuse that anger. What else?
Relax instead of tighten. Tighten.
It says do what?
Let your arms hang loose. Take a breath. Lean against something in a casual way, or sit with your legs crossed comfortably. Look calm, even if you don't feel it.
Even if you gotta put yourself in a posture. Like I'm just relaxed, man. I'm just gonna take this in. You're opposing me. You coming against me. You stirring me up. I'm gonna just breathe. I'm gonna just suck it in. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna be composed. I'm not gonna ball my fist up. I'm gonna let my arms hang down a little bit. I'm gonna drop my shoulders. I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna work through it. What else?
Disengage rather than attack.
Go ahead.
You may want to get right in the other person's face. You may want to shake them emotionally, if not physically.
He said you may want to shake them emotionally and if not physically. Go ahead.
Instead, look or walk away. Make no commitment about the provoking. Make no comment about the provoking situation.
Don't even regurgitate what they said that pissed you off. Don't even reenact it. Process it. You had your hand up?
Yes. So you can go through those processes and it obviously looks like, okay, this person's trying to control their anger right now. So regardless of how it looks, as long as you do it,
that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
You can look and like, man, I'm thinking about doing
this is all resist the devil, and he shall flee. It's just for a season.
Yep.
Hey,
Go ahead.
I've never had none of these, but they're pretty powerful.
It says you may want.
It says make no comment.
Make no comment or comment about the provoking situation. Save it for another time.
Postpone that feeling immediately. Put that feeling off immediately for a proper time and a proper place.
You'll only blow up if you try to deal with it now.
Go ahead.
Empathize rather than judge. Say something mildly supportive, such as this is a difficult situation for you.
Let the person know I'm processing this. It's difficult to swallow. It's difficult to comprehend. It's difficult to deal with. Meaning what? I'm not ignoring you. I'm not blowing you off, even though damn well I don't agree with you. Even though damn well what you just said got me irate. But I'm going to say words to let you know that I understood you and I heard you, but I don't like it. Go ahead.
It's okay if you don't feel supportive and the words seem phony.
It's okay if he said if the words seem phony, because it will seem phony. Because I really want to do something. Go ahead.
You can have a strong desire to take a 2x4 to the other person.
He said you want to go upside somebody's head with a 2x4.
Very specific.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But just behave as if you can appreciate their point of view.
So even though if their point of view seems accusatory or attacking or unnecessary or undeserving, you still got to process it a certain way. So you got to anticipate these things so that anger, if that's your issue, don't get the best of you. It's how you anticipate it coming, and it's how you diffuse it and how you handle it. So these are just strategies that what somebody in mental therapy will do to help you with your inner issues, your emotional behavior, your cognitive distortions, these feelings that you got that aren't always true, these fantasies that you deal with, this irregular behavior that you got, when you don't know how to be in the spirit of what you're doing, when you don't have a spiritual solution. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 14.
What was that last one?
The last one was disengage rather than attack. Instead, look or walk away. Make no comment about the provoking situation. Don't repeat it or put it in motion. Save it for another time. You'll only blow up if you try to deal with this now. So he's saying is you have to put some distance between yourself and that circumstance, and calm down and say words that support their perspective versus protect yourself or defend yourself. You know what I'm saying? Or lash out or lash back. He's showing you different strategies, right? Proverbs chapter 18, verse 14. Let's read that.
Proverbs chapter 18, verse 14. The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity.
It says what?
The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity.
It says the spirit of a man shall what?
Sustain his infirmity.
So it says the spirit of a man shall do what?
Will sustain his infirmity.
What does that mean?
Your mind can overcome the situation.
No, your spirit.
Spirit.
Your spirit can do what?
Sustain his infirmity.
So regardless of what you're dealing with, if you have a strong spirit, it'll help you overcome some of the physical issues that you may possess. It may help you overcome. I'll give you an example. When I've noticed that certain people at certain times when their body goes downhill, like it's the end of the world. When their body goes down, when their body's not working or functioning appropriately, they go into a deep depression. And they start telling themselves, I'm not good for nothing. I can't help nobody. I can't do nothing good in this state that I'm in. I'm broke. My body's broken. It starts playing on their psyche. It starts playing on their mind. Because they're not physically equipped or able to help or to do anything. You start talking negative. I ain't good for nothing. I don't even know why I'm here. Just because they had a physical breakdown. There's times when people have a mental breakdown. And when they have a mental breakdown, they start having greater issues psychologically. They can't control their negative thoughts. They go into a panic state, a gloom and doom. All is lost. All hell is broken loose. Can't control these things. I'm crying. I'm sad. I got depression. I got anxiety. I got panic attacks. These are mental breakdowns. But you gotta, if you have a strong spirit, it can help smooth out and help you overcome and aid you in assistance when you have physical breakdowns or you have mental breakdowns. So he said, read it again.
Proverbs chapter 18, verse 14. The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity.
It said, the spirit of a man shall do what?
Sustain his infirmity.
Read.
But a wounded spirit.
It said, but a what?
A wounded spirit.
A wounded spirit. Go ahead.
Who can bear?
The word bear means, it means to carry. It means to support, to sustain, or to lift up. So if you got a wounded spirit, it's hard to carry a broken spirit. It's hard to carry or to lift up or walk in life with a broken spirit. Very difficult. It says, who can bear it? So then, if there's physical therapy, and if there's mental therapy, then there must also be what? Then there must also be spiritual therapy. And that is actually a fact. Read the definition right here, Dawiyat. Spiritual therapy.
Spiritual
Spiritual therapy.
therapy. The application of spiritual knowledge.
Boom. It's the what?
The application.
So when your spirit is broken, what is the strategies needed to sustain, to support, or to lift up a broken spirit? It says what?
The application of spiritual knowledge.
You have to apply what?
Spiritual knowledge.
You have to apply spiritual knowledge when the spirit is broken. Read on.
In the treatment of disease.
In the treatment of what?
Disease.
So if my spirit is broken, there is spiritual therapy. Just like there's physical therapy. Just like there's kettlebells and treadmills and saunas and whirlpools and swimming pools and stretch bands, and just like there's electricity and TENS units and stretching and Pilates, there's also spiritual therapy as well. And spiritual therapy is the application of spiritual knowledge. This is how you lift up, carry, support, and sustain a wounded spirit. But you can't go to the doctor for that. They don't have that. The clinic don't possess spiritual knowledge. They possess medical knowledge. They know how to apply physical apparatuses. They know how to apply physical elements that can affect you or help you. Say it again. Remedies. Physical remedies. But not on a spiritual level. Christ said in Matthew chapter 22 verse 29 what?
Matthew chapter 22, verse 29. Yahushua answered and said unto them, Ye do err.
He says, you do err,
not knowing the scriptures.
So when you have a spirit that's broke down and wounded, when you have a defeated spirit, a depressed or broken spirit, give you an example. Just today, the chief of police in Miami-Dade blew his brains out. Today. On the highway, driving on the highway, arguing with his woman.
There you go.
Yet, he was at the hotel first, at a police meeting, and he was pointing a gun at himself. The other officers covered it up and said, there's nothing wrong. He said, nobody's in any danger. He left that conference, got on the highway, shot himself in the head. He actually lived.
Wow.
He's in treatment right now. He's in ICU right now. He actually lived, but he shot himself on the highway leaving that conference because he was arguing with his woman at the conference, and he got on the highway arguing with his woman. That's just today.
That's the chief of police.
This is the chief of police of Miami-Dade, Florida.
It's important to say this. The chief of police means that this guy has a lot of skills. He has money. He has insurance. He has access to mediums that he needs for whatever he needs.
He got support.
He has a support group.
He got colleagues.
He has peers.
He got peers.
There's peers there. And he has some type of
counseling.
He has some type of tenacity and strength.
And there's counseling there too, because police officers see a lot of
Yeah.
damage. They see a lot of things that cause PTSD. Just like war veterans, they walk up on a lot of crime scenes.
Wow.
So there is counseling, there's insurance, but what happens when your spirit is broken though?
That's the whole different story.
And you got this mindset. Then you have to apply spiritual knowledge in this treatment of a disease. That's why I said, when you got a broken spirit, who can bear it? It's hard to sustain a broken spirit. But there is therapy. The therapy is what Christ said a lot of us ignore. What did Christ say?
Yahushua answered and said unto them, you do err, not knowing the scriptures.
He said, our problem is what?
Not knowing the scriptures.
We don't pursue the spiritual therapy. We'll go to support groups. We'll go to AA meetings. If we even do that. A lot of us won't even do that. Which are effective forms of strategy. We won't counsel.
Won't pray.
We won't pray. We won't confess our sins. We won't humble down. We won't fast. And we won't read.
And you wonder why.
And wonder why. I've evaded all forms of therapy. Physical, mental, and spiritual. And I expect my problem to be solved. Not going to happen.
I've been the truth for 10 years, Huck. That means for 9 or 10 years, you did not apply any form of therapy to your spirit.
Nope. There is spiritual therapy. That's why Christ said what? Ye do err what?
Not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of the Most High.
He said you don't know the scriptures, nor the power of the Most High. You don't give the Most High in the Bible enough credit. You give alcohol and drugs credit. You give sexual satisfaction credit. I need a vacation. You give that credit. I need a getaway. You'll give more credit to that than actually what the power of the Most High can do for you. There's only one way to sustain and to hold up and to keep and to strengthen a broken spirit. And that's what the Most High has to offer us. But that's where Christ said our mistake comes in at. We don't take what he has to give us. And it's the most effective therapy for a broken spirit. We don't read enough. We don't study enough. Christ said, you do err, not knowing what?
Not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of the Most High.
He said, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of the Most High. That's our number one mistake of why we walk around with broken spirits. Why we walk around with a lack of happiness. A lack of positivity. Get the definition of melancholia. Like melancholy. But get the definition of melancholia. You let that go in Matthew.
It's a movie about it.
I didn't know that.
It's a movie. Drama sci-fi.
He's sad in space. He's on a planet by himself.
You said melancholia.
Yes, sir.
Melancholia. A severe depression.
It's what?
Severe depression.
A lot of us walk around with what?
Severe depression.
Because we don't do what? Because we don't use spiritual therapy. We don't impose spiritual therapy. Spiritual therapy, like Christ said, is our mistake coming from not reading enough. He said, you do err not knowing the scriptures. We don't read enough scriptures. The scriptures are a multitude of strategies to apply to a sick spirit. We don't study enough. Go ahead.
Severe depression.
What else?
Characterized especially by profound sadness.
Profound sadness. A lot of us walk around what?
Sad.
Sad. I'm in the dumps. Why are you in the dumps? Your health is fine. Your heart works great. Your kidneys work. Your liver work. Your organs work. You're in prime health. Why are you sad? Why you got this depression on you? Why are you not happy? Because you don't study. You don't read the Bible. You don't give the Most High enough credit. So therefore, you're left with a broken spirit. What else?
It says, characterized also by great depression of spirits and gloomy forebodings.
Gloomy forebodings. That means I don't see nothing coming that's good. I can't see nothing, no good coming to me. Why try? It's for nothing. Why do anything? Nothing's gonna help. Nothing's changed. Now I got gloomy forbearance. I can't see anything positive coming my way. Read.
It says, for no obvious reason.
I don't have.
I'm negative for the sake of being negative.
There you go.
I'm angry for the sake of being angry. I'm mad for the sake of being mad. I don't even know why I'm mad. But it says something about grief, right?
I didn't see anything.
It says something about it's different from grief, because grief is real. Because grief is something that has an affected it's affected you because of an event that happened. That's different from melancholia, which is that severe depression, because there's nothing happened to you necessarily. You just choose not to solve it. You choose to stay in it and don't know how to get out of it. But the way out of it is spiritual therapy.
It also says, going to this middle English, denoting black bile.
Yeah, black bile. The word melancholia is from two words put together. Melanin is black. Cholia or choler is bile. Is black bile. That's where the word comes from. Black bile. That means that there's this excreted waste material that is suppressing your system, which in Old English they say that the stomach was tied to the mind. Because you have a suppressed system within your gut, then therefore you have a suppressed mind frame of negative thinking. They say that bile produced negative thoughts, was associated with negative thoughts. And overconsumption of bile, and I'll say this, an overproduction of bile produces negative thoughts. And that's what the word melancholia comes from. But there's an answer to that. The answer to that is, have you sought out spiritual therapy? Which can only come from a spiritual source. And we'll explain that, but we'll finish that definition.
The last part of that is a form of insanity.
It's a form of what?
Insanity.
Damn, man. And that's why Christ said, ye do err, not knowing the scriptures. Proverbs, chapter 25, verse 19.
Proverbs 4,
Yes, sir.
what was that last scripture before the definition?
The last scripture we read before the definition was Matthew chapter 22, verse 29.
Proverbs 25, verse 19. Confidence in an unfaithful man.
So now when you lean on brothers, and you need brothers to be strong. You need brothers to be out of their head. You need brothers to not be walking around dejected, sad, broken, disheartened, disconnected. We lean on brothers, man. We need brothers to be in a right mentality to be effective every day.
Yeah.
We depend on each other. But what happens when or if you're in a relationship, you're a wife and you're dependent on that husband to be sound in mind, to be straight in his mind. Or if you're the man and you're dependent on that wife, you need her to be sound in her mind. But the problem is, it really affects us when we're in a body and we need each other, but a person is not there because they haven't pulled themselves up out of this depression. They're dragging this melancholia with them. And he says confidence in a what?
In an unfaithful man in the time of trouble is like a broken tooth.
Now, what do you need your teeth for?
Nutrition.
When you're hungry, you want to eat something, man. And what happens when your teeth are not in agreement with your stomach? And you hungry as hell, but you got pain in your mouth, and you can only chew like a little bit at a time. You ever had that damn tooth pain on one side where you got to eat in pieces? You got to eat in like nibbles, and like you got to cut your food up with a knife 50,000 times. You get angry because it's like, man, I'm hungry as hell, but I got to eat slow. My food getting cold, and I gotta push the food to the other side of my mouth, chew on one side, all the way in the back, eat slow. Man, that's vexing. Cause it's not there when I need it. It's not. You ever play basketball with a flat ball?
It's the worst, bro. I'm trying hard. You're dribbling hard.
You dribbling hard as hell. You pounding the ball hard as hell, and the ball ain't coming back to you. You losing the ball. You losing the handles. Getting stole. Man, who flat ass ball is this?
Yeah.
You angry as hell. You can't dribble it for nothing. Trying to drive, look, damn, lost it. Ain't got no bounce back. It's like driving on a flat. You're not going far. What he's saying is, when a person's not in their right state of mind, you can't lean on them. You can't depend on them. Because they can't fulfill the objective of the support that you really need from them. So what's going to lift them up? How do you lift them up? What is the strategy and the medicine necessary to lift up a broken spirit? They need spiritual therapy, along with counseling, along with prayer, along with fasting, along with alms, along with charity. They got to compound these things. But more importantly, they need that spiritual therapy. Read.
It says, confidence in an unfaithful man in the time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint.
Well, you ever try to walk on a foot out of joint, you'll understand. This is painful. This is not productive. We're not going very far.
Yeah.
You're not going far because you're aching and you're in pain. It's dislocated. Nice try. But people become dislocated. People become deflated when they develop this spirit of melancholia, and they don't understand what it's going to take for them to get their joy back, get their happiness back, to get their positivity back. I don't know what's going to take to get my. I've tried everything. I'm doing all these alternative things. I'm trying new things, and I'm still not happy. You got to go at the core of the issue. It's a spiritual problem, so you have to have a spiritual solution, right? Now, that spiritual therapy is made up of two words. The Latin is spiritus, which means breath. That's where the word spiritual comes from, spiritus, which means breath. Therapy comes from therapia, which means treatment. That's a breathing treatment. For those that have asthma, they what? They understand what that means, right? When you got asthma, you need a what? You need a breathing treatment. You either got an inhaler, and you pumping on that inhaler, and you got that albuterol, which is that steroid in there, and you huffing on that steroid. And what is the job of that steroid? It's to open your lungs up so you can breathe. Because your lungs are tight and they're constricted, and they don't open all the way. Or you got the damn nebulizer with the little face mask, and you putting the steroid in the damn nebulizer, in the damn little apparatus, to dispense the albuterol to get your lungs to open up. And you got to get on that breathing treatment for about 20 minutes. And squeeze a little liquid tube in there. For those that have asthma, they understand. For those that know, they know. Well, guess what? That's exactly what spiritual therapy means. It means a breathing treatment. But the breathing is not in a liquid form. It's not a medicated breathing treatment. It's not an albuterol steroid. It's not an inhaler that he's talking about. There's something that he's talking about what spiritual therapy means when he says it's a breathing treatment. Because that's what it actually means. Go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 27. 7. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7.
What was the last scripture?
Last scripture we had before that was Proverbs chapter 25, verse 19.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. And the Lord power formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life.
Now we're going to break that down. When read it again.
God. And the Lord power formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life.
Now, there's two words with two different meanings. When it says he breathed into man, that breathe is napak, which means to blow or to be blown, or literally to inflate. You understand? So when somebody has melancholia, they're depressed, they got anxiety, they're suffering from emotional instability, they're sad, they're deflated. There's only one thing that will inflate a spirit, that is deflated. The Spirit of the Most High is the only thing to inflate a deflated soul. Because that's what that word means, to breathe. It means literally to deflate or to inflate. So it says, read it again.
And the Lord power formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life.
And so when it says breathe into his nostril, the breath, that breath is neshama, which means spirit. So when he said in Genesis chapter 2 verse 7 is that the Most High inflated Adam's spirit. How do you inflate a broken soul or a deflated spirit? You have to use what? Scriptures. You have to use scriptures. That is the best and the only therapy that the Most High prescribed when you're dealing with a spiritual sickness. There's only one way to inflate a broken spirit, and that's through scriptures. And that's through his wisdom. Because we know in Wisdom of Solomon 7:24 that wisdom is the breath of the Most High. And what happens when you got it? Ecclesiastes chapter 26 verse 4, read that. And there's somebody who was holding whoever was holding Proverbs chapter 18 verse 15. Who was holding that? Okay, you gonna go hold that real quick. We're gonna go back to it. But go to Ecclesiastes chapter 26 verse 4. Read that.
Ecclesiastes in the Apocrypha chapter 26 verse 4. Whether a man be rich or poor, if he have a good heart toward the Lord,
if I have a good connection with the Most High,
he shall at all times rejoice.
He shall what?
He shall at all times rejoice with a cheerful countenance.
So, if regardless of my condition, if I maintain my connection in the spirit with the Most High, I shall at all times what?
At all times rejoice with the cheerful countenance.
So why isn't everybody cheerful? Why isn't everybody walking around cheerful and happy? Why is always a bunch of long, sad faces when you talk to brothers and sisters?
You don't study.
They don't study enough. They're deflated. There's only one air pump for the soul, bro, and that's scriptures. And this is why half the people that you run into that's Israelites aren't happy. They know they're Israelites. They know what tribe they come from. But they aren't happy. They don't reflect it. They don't reflect a connection with the Most High. Because they don't study enough. They aren't tied in enough with enough scriptures to inflate themselves. To be able to overcome and sustain their countenance or their well-being. Or their emotional stability. Because if you did take the time to nurture that relationship with you and the Most High, it will have a profound effect on your countenance. It will have a profound effect on your attitude. It will have a profound effect on your well-being, on your behavior, of your mental thought processes. If you actually take the time to nurture that relationship between you and the Most High through studying, you'll watch a lot of things that you couldn't handle before disappear. You'll watch a lot of things you couldn't sustain go away. You'll watch it because there's something that you're doing, and we'll get to that point. But read verse 16 and Proverbs chapter 28 verse 15. You had 18 verse 14, right? Read verse 15.
Yeah. Verse 15. The heart of the prudent getteth knowledge.
It says, read verse 14 and 15 real quick. I'm sorry.
God, verse 14. Proverbs chapter 18. The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity.
It says the spirit of a man will sustain his infirmities. Read.
But a wounded spirit, who can bear it?
Who can sustain
Who
it?
can bear?
Who can bear? I mean, who can sustain? Who can carry a broken spirit? He said there's an answer. Spiritual therapy, which means what? By definition,
Spiritual therapy. It says the application of spiritual knowledge in the treatment of disease.
now read on.
God. Verse 15. The heart of the prudent getteth knowledge.
Stop. So right after it tells you who can sustain a broken spirit, it even tells you what they're missing. It said if you know what's good for you, if your spirit is broken, he tells you in the very next verse, you need more what?
Knowledge.
You need more of God's knowledge. The very next verse answers the question. For the same definition that's in the medical dictionary. You need more of God's knowledge to lift up your spirit. If your spirit's been trampled and broken. And you're no good for yourself. He said a prudent man seeks a relationship and looks to add on more knowledge. Read on.
And the ear of the wise.
And the ear of the wise, that means if I know what's good for me, I'm going to be listening. I'm going to be listening for those suggestions. I'm going to be listening for those strategies. I'm going to be listening for those alternative ways to overcome my situation. He said, but that ear of what?
And the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge.
And the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge. I'm looking to hear knowledge. I'm looking to hear strategies that come from the Bible. I'm looking to not make sure I don't miss, like it says in Wisdom of Solomon, every godly discourse. I don't let no godly discourse pass me by.
We do the opposite.
We do the opposite.
We miss almost every godly discourse. For one, no one can disturb the image I've created for myself. So any information you give me that's contrary to my personal created cocktail of fantasies that I want to present, that you're automatically wrong because you don't know what I've been through.
Yep.
And with that mindset and that narrative of you know what I've been through, and you don't understand, or you're not fit to counsel me, guess what? That you cannot, that spirit that's invading you, or that spirit that's really sucking the life out of you or deflating you, that can't be purged. Because it says, by definition, it says the application of spiritual knowledge. I can't apply the knowledge because I can't receive the knowledge.
And that's the trouble. Right here in follow, page 208 at the bottom, read this line 16.
Line 16. It is then confessed by all most undeniably that it is both honorable and advantageous to yield and become obedient.
It said it's honorable and it's advantageous, meaning it's honorable, it's respectable, and it's beneficial. To become what?
To become obedient.
To what?
To virtue.
To virtues. When somebody's trying to lift you up and instill better virtues in you, it says it's beneficial and it's respectable if you allow somebody to instill virtue in you. Read on.
So that the other hand, to be disobedient to it, must be disgraceful.
It says to be disobedient to virtue, it must be what?
Disgraceful.
Because somebody is trying to lift you up. Somebody is trying to enhance you mentally, physically, and spiritually. But to not listen to that enhancement is a disgrace. What else?
And in no moderate degree disadvantageous.
And it's disadvantageous. It's not going to benefit
Not
you.
to your benefit. No.
Being rebellious, being disobedient, or being stubborn is not going to help you. You got to let somebody inflate you with scriptures. You got to let somebody inflate you with spiritual strategies, which is that spiritual therapy. You got to let somebody instruct you for your own benefit. Read on.
And to be contentious.
But I want to be argumentative. I want to fight back and argue with you. I don't like what you're telling me. I don't like the tone that you're talking to me in. I don't know why you're telling me that, because I can see your problems.
What about you?
What about you? He said, but to be what?
To be contentious and obstinate is a quality which comprehends every extravagance of evil.
Man. Read on.
For the man who is disobedient is less wicked.
He says there's two types of wickedness for a man that's disobedient. A man that's disobedient is less wicked than what?
Than he who is contentious.
He says you got a man that's disobedient and you got a man that's contentious. He said the man that's disobedient is less evil than the man that's contentious. Why is that?
It says since the one only disregards
the disobedient man, he doesn't regard what
he is commanded to do.
He doesn't do what he's told to do. But the contentious one is twice as evil, because not only does he not do what he's told to do, but he what?
But the other also exerts himself to do the contrary.
He does the opposite. I'm not only am I not going to do what you're telling me to do, which is beneficial to my soul, I'm going to go complete opposite. I'm in the complete opposite direction. I'm going to go opposite of what you tell me to do. So if you told me to study, I ain't studying nothing. If you told me to pray, I ain't praying at all. If you're telling me to fast, I'm going to indulge in my food. I'm going to eat good. If you tell me to have some self-restraint, I'm going to pop off. He said that person is twice as wicked than somebody that's just rebellious. I'm going to do everything that you told me not to do. I'm going to do it. Not only am I not going to listen, I'm going to go the opposite direction. That's how obstinate our people are. They're not only rebellious, they totally just say, man, I'm going to just do what I want to do.
Who rejoice to do evil.
We rejoice to do evil. That's a fact. This is why that therapy can't take root. But this is why Paul said this. When Paul was teaching, go to Acts chapter 20, verse 27. Acts chapter 20, verse 27. Another brother get Luke chapter 2, verse 52. Next brother get 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 9. We got them in a row. Read that.
Acts chapter 20, verse 27. For I have not shunned.
Paul said, when it comes to the Most High and when it comes to this spiritual therapy, Paul said, I have not shunned, meaning I've not withheld myself. I've not withdrawn myself. Read on.
For I have not shunned to declare unto you all the counsel of the Most High.
Listen to what he's saying. Paul said, when I was teaching y'all, he said, I didn't hold back. I didn't give you half of what I understood. He says, I didn't hold back, but I gave you all the counsel of who?
The Most High.
The Most High. That's what it takes to really convert our people. You have to give them the counsel of the Most High. Paul said when it comes to the church, he said, I gave you all the counsel of the Most High that I could give you. You need all the counsel you can get. There's no counsel in the scriptures that should be left out if you're trying to convert yourself. If you're trying to make a real spiritual change. You need every counsel that comes out of the Bible. Every last one of them. That means don't read the Bible sometimes. Read the Bible all the time. I'll just go to the Bible when I don't feel well. No, go to the Bible when you don't feel well and you feel good. Go to the Bible at all times. But we like to go to the Most High in bits and pieces and spurts. Only when there's something wrong, then I can go to the Bible. No, get all the counsel of the Most High. At all times. There's something that happens when you do that. Luke chapter 2, verse 52. Read that.
Luke chapter 2 and verse 52.
And somebody give me the definition of favor.
And Yahushua increased in wisdom.
It said even Christ increased in wisdom. When you increase in God's wisdom, his instruction, his knowledge, there's something that happens when you study and you increase in wisdom. What are the benefits of increasing in wisdom? Read.
And stature.
It says you increase in stature, you grow. Stature is height. You grow, you elevate. What else?
And in favor.
And you read it again, one more time.
And Yahushua increased in wisdom and stature and in favor.
It says he increased in wisdom, stature, and what?
Favor.
And favor. The more you study, the more you elevate with the Most High. But what's the benefit of it? What's the definition of favor? Who got it?
Kind. Favor. Kind regard. Kindness. Countenance. Propitious.
Kindness is one of them. The Most High is more kind to you. The more you study, the more you commit to the Most High. The more you pursue his knowledge, the Most High becomes more kind to you. What else?
Propitious aspects. Friendly disposition.
It says friendly what?
Disposition.
The Most High will start regarding you as a what?
A friend.
Friend. The Most High starts treating you like a what?
Right.
He has a friendly disposition. A friendly state of mind towards you. What else?
2. Support.
The Most High will do what?
Support.
So when you increase in his knowledge, the Most High starts doing what to you? He starts supporting you. He starts supporting you. These are benefits of increasing in the Most High's knowledge. You get his friendship, you get his kindness, you get his support. What else?
Defense.
And the Most High does what?
Defense.
This is why Christ said that when he was reviled, he reviled not again, but committed himself to him that judges what?
Righteous.
Righteously. Because he knew that who was going to defend him? The Most High was. Why was he so confident in the fact that the Most High would defend him? Because he was about acquiring the Most High's knowledge. And we're reading it as proof right here because it says in Luke chapter 2 verse 52 that Christ did what?
Increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with the Most High and man.
So it shows you when you make a pursuit to obtaining more knowledge from the Most High, just like Christ did, you start reaping the benefits of what it means to be in the Most High. Those benefits are the Most High starts defending you, he starts supporting you, he starts being friendly to you, and he gives you his kindness. You can't lose. But what we'll do is we'll try everything but submit to the knowledge of the Most High. And that's why Christ said, you do err, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of the Most High. That's our biggest mistake. We won't lock into the Most High and build with his knowledge. Last verse, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 9. Salam.
1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 9. It says, for we are laborers together with the Most High.
It says you're supposed to be building with who?
The Most High.
You're supposed to be laboring with the Most High. We're just going to explain what that means real quick. As you're building yourself up spiritually, you're supposed to be including the Most High within the plans and the processes of you developing yourself, of that spiritual therapy, getting those spiritual answers and spiritual solutions. You're supposed to be doing this with the Most High. What does that mean? In the Matthew Henry, it says,
Those that work hardest fare best. Those that are most faithful shall have the greatest reward. And glorious work is in which all faithful ministers are employed.
go ahead.
They are laborers with God.
So he's saying what this means is, in the Greek, he says they are laborers with God, right? What this means in the Greek, he says, he calls it what?
Synagogue?
Synergoi.
Synagogue.
This is a Greek word for synergy. This is a Greek word for synergy. This word means what?
Co-workers.
So, because the word syn, S-Y-N, means together. The word energy, or what's the word?
And go
Ergon, like ergonomic.
Yeah.
Ergon means to work. Syn means together. So he says, so this word actually means as you're building yourself up, you're supposed to let God be your co-worker in the process of building your mind up and the advancement of your spirit. You're supposed to be working together with God. This is what Paul said made him powerful. He said, because I work together with God, I let the Most High build me up together with myself. I invested myself into his thought process, and together we made the man that I am today. I did it with the Most High. I didn't build myself by myself. You're supposed to have that synergy, which means to work together or be a co-worker with the Most High when it comes to being built up. When you're building yourself up, you're more effective when you include the Most High with the process. And you do that when you add on his word. You do that when you invest into his knowledge. Then you watch the process of therapy take place. Matter of fact, last definition, which is, we're just going to read what that is. Read that right there, just the first part.
Okay, it says spiritual therapy, spiritist breath, therapia, treatment, the application of spiritual knowledge.
It says the application of spiritual knowledge. So when you apply God's knowledge and you work together with building yourself up with God, using his scriptures, using his knowledge, read on.
In the treatment of all mental and physical disorders.
It says it can treat and allow you to handle what?
All mental and physical disorders.
So it showed, this is the definition of what it means that a spirit
Can
sustain, a strong spirit can sustain his infirmities. So you can do that when you're built up in God's knowledge. You can sustain physical issues. You can sustain mental issues. But you have to invest into God's knowledge in order to do that. Yes, sir.
What was that definition?
Read it one more time.
Oh, sorry, that word.
Synergy?
That was it?
No. This is the definition of
spiritual therapy.
Spiritual therapy.
The application of spiritual knowledge in the treatment of all mental and physical disorders. All.
It's showing you that when you apply spiritual therapy, real spiritual therapy, which is the knowledge that comes from the Bible, that it can sustain you in all physical or what?
Or spiritual disorders. Sorry.
Mental.
Mental and physical disorders.
Go ahead.
Based upon the assumption.
It says it's based upon the assumption that what?
That man is a spiritual being.
But you have to believe that you're a spiritual being. And that there's no carnal solutions for your issues. The way that you attack a spiritual problem is through the scriptures. You have to resort to looking for spiritual solutions because you're a spiritual being. You have to believe that. You can't believe that, man just made out of dirt and we die and then that's it. There's nothing after this. No. You got to believe that there's more to you than this. Read.
It says, based upon the assumption that man is a spiritual being living in a spiritual universe.
You have to believe you're in a spiritual universe. You're in a spiritual planned place that the Most High has set up. It's not by Big Bang. It's not by evolution. We started off as salamanders and then we evolved into apes and monkeys and then to mankind. No, man, the Most High built this by design. The Most High designed everything. All this is designed by the Most High. So you have to look at everything in a spiritual perspective. This is how you fix a spirit. You can let it go from there. But he's showing you that this is what each and every one of us should do to solve any issues, whether it be physical, mental, or spiritual. You have to make a connection, knowledge-wise, and a pursuit to gather his instruction. in order to aid you to overcome all ailments, all disabilities, all infirmities, all diseases. Because that was the message from the beginning. That's what Christ was doing from the jump. Preaching the kingdom and healing people from all diseases. But you know, we still got these issues today. A lot of us aren't happy. A lot of us are depressed. A lot of us walk around with a half, I don't care whether something good happens or bad happens. It doesn't matter to me. I'm neutral. I'm melancholy. Gloom and doom. Nothing good is coming. A lot of us live like that, man. But you gotta have good cheer. When you read in the New Testament, we don't got time to go through it. When you read in the New Testament, when Christ said, be of good cheer, when Paul said, be of good cheer, that word actually translates to be of good courage. You got to have courage. Because you know what courage does? Courage is the root of hope. And hope has power. And when you look at these 12 steps, I've never, me personally, I'm not going to lie, I've never been to a 12-step program. I'm not going to lie and say I've been to a 12-step program. I haven't been to, but I know brothers that do, and I know brothers that have. But I'm not going to sit around and say I've been to a 12-step program. I have not.
But every last one of those steps is scripture to
Yep.
the T. There's one step where you acknowledge you have an issue. There's another, I don't remember all of them. There's another step you gotta go back and apologize to everybody you offended on. That's biblical.
Well,
Making it right.
yeah, that's
making it right, bro.
Ezekiel 33. He said, "Give again which you have robbed."
Brother, he
said, "And then walk in the statutes of life."
I'm like, bro, I'm watching these like people talk about these steps and all these. I'm like, they're living the Bible. They don't even know it.
They don't even know it.
They're living the Bible. Only the ones that apply the steps are the ones that get healed.
And you know what? And the last thing it takes to get healed, it says, is hope. And that hope comes from having good cheer. That good cheer is good courage. It gives you hope. This is another strategy. Conquering chemical dependency. Another strategy. Another workbook. But like I said, I've never been in a program. But there's a lot of strategies that exist.
But there's diamonds. So you're saying there's diamonds everywhere.
There's diamonds everywhere.
If I'm in spiritual poverty,
I'll never see it.
myself.
It says right here, this hope.
Confidence in the Most High's power is a key to conquering your chemical dependency.
It says when you're trying to conquer, it says a Christ-centered conquering chemical dependency. A Christ-centered 12-step process. I've never been through this process. I've never been in a program such as this. But I know the scriptures say the same thing. This is where they got the process from.
Right.
This is the source of the steps. It comes from the scriptures. It makes sense. You can see it. You can see it medically. You can see it physically. You can see it mentally. You can see it spiritually. It's easy to see.
But just like the scriptures and those programs, you can't succeed in any of them if you don't humble yourself to do those steps, to accept the help from the scriptures or from the...
It doesn't work if you don't believe in it. It doesn't matter if it's physical therapy. It doesn't work if you don't believe in it.
Yeah.
And whether it's mental therapy, it doesn't work if you don't believe in it. And if it's spiritual therapy, it don't work if you don't believe in it. That's why the Most High said, first he must believe that what?
He is.
That he is. And that he is a rewarder of them that what? Diligently seek him. You got to believe that the Most High exists. None of these steps work if you lack faith. If you lack hope. But faith coming by what? Hearing. And that hearing what? By the word of the Lord. So none of these steps and processes are effective without hope. You need hope. You need faith to secure success within any one of these steps. You got to believe. That's why I said my own health was ailing and failing because when I was going to damn therapy, I didn't believe the process. I didn't go in there with a mind frame like, yes, this is actually going to work. I had to correct myself. I had to re-navigate my mind going into the damn clinic and say, you know what? Let me give respect because these people have gone to school. These people have memorized muscles. I haven't. They've memorized blood vessels. I haven't. They've memorized ligaments and tendons. I haven't. They've memorized bones. I haven't. They've actually instituted this program to where other people have left successful. I'm still in pain. So let me go ahead and humble myself down and give myself to this process. Then I saw success. Same thing with the Bible. When you humble down to the scriptures and you look to follow what you read in the Bible, then you can start seeing the success. You can't read the Bible like, man, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I don't even know why I'm reading this, but I'm wasting my time. Wasting my time. I've already read that. That looks familiar. I read that. That looks familiar. That's why I say be doers of the word and not what?
Hearers.
Not hearers only. You got to read the Bible for the purpose of putting it in motion. You got to believe that this actually can heal me. This actually can work. You got to go in it with that confidence. All throughout the scriptures, you can read about courage, but in the New Testament, they just call it be of good cheer. Same word, same thing, same definition. And that's what a lot of us lack. We lack cheer because we lack courage. And we don't have courage because we don't believe. We don't believe because we don't read. And we stay sick. So that's why the class is called Finding Biblical Solutions for My Mind. Any questions? All right, with that, we're going to say shalom. The water for watching.
Shalom.
We'll catch you again on Friday. We'll be back in action on Friday. All right? So with that, we're going to say shalom. Let's go ahead and set up a quick prayer. Imagine we'll put in work with them. Rise and face the east. All right, shalom. Shalom, Israel Online. Shalom, everybody. The water for watching. We'll see you again on Friday.